Rebuilding the Immortal Cultivation family. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 551 Admission. What gift do you plan to give to the Li family's nascent soul ceremony? Asked True Lord King Shu first. Under the pressure from the Li family, the Shuling sect and Wu Iya sect, who have always had old grudges, now have a tendency to join forces. After all, in the face of the inheritance and continuation of the sect, and the safety of life, that little conflict is nothing at all. Because they have carefully studied the Li family and found that the Li family has expanded its territory very frequently. This makes them very wary and worried. But what they don't know is that the reason for each expansion of the Li family is the other party's active provocation. The Li family is just trying to protect itself and take the initiative. The truth of many things has been buried by time. If you don't investigate carefully, you don't know the whole story. I heard that the Li family is a beast-controlling family, so I specially prepared a 4th-grade spirit beast to, True Lord Yahe said with a wry smile. More than a decade ago, the strength was not as good as his own Li family, but now he needs to please them in person. Have you prepared spirit beast eggs as well? True Lord King Shu said. It seems that everyone has the same idea. After chatting for a while, the two began to discuss the official topic. Do you think that the Li family will use their power to suppress others during this celebration? For example, forcing the two families to bow their heads and become vassals of the Li family from then on. In the short term, it may not happen. After all, the Li family now has only 2 Yuanings who are better than them, but in terms of Jinden, foundation building, and key training disciples, no matter the number or strength, they are far behind. But when a Li family fully grows up, it is hard to say. What you said is right, True Lord Yahe echoed. They all had similar ideas. Then he directly expressed his opinion and said, since we are threatened in front of each other, shouldn't we put aside our past grudges and work together? If we continue to consume each other like this, we will really become subordinates of the Li family in the future. Of course, there is no deep hatred between our two families. It's just a normal competition for resources. True Lord King Shu nodded in approval. Although the two families had several conflicts before, and many disciples of both sides died, these were only minor matters. The top leaders of the two families had always tacitly agreed that they were just looking for an opponent to provoke each other. But now that the Li family was an obvious target, they no longer had to continue to consume each other. Everyone understands the principle of lips and teeth dying. After the two discussed it, they did not put it in writing, but since then, the two families no longer targeted each other, but began to join forces in many aspects. Time passed quickly, and in a blink of an eye, it was the day when Zhang Fengwu's nascent soul ceremony was opened. Banyan Island became extremely lively, and a large number of cultivators walked here, admiring the scenery of the Li family's land. The protagonist of the ceremony, Zhang Fengwu, was checking the spiritual objects sent by each family with Li Zhirui at this time. The spiritual objects sent by those forces that were not very honest before are actually quite precious today, Li Zhirui said with some amusement. Not to mention the small forces such as key training and foundation building, the gifts sent by those Jinden forces were almost all 4th-level spiritual objects. They are trying to please the family in this way. Zhang Fengwu said it in one word. Unfortunately, the Li family has no intention of establishing their prestige now, and will not take action against them because of these things. The main reason is that the Li family's foundation is not very good and cannot control so many territories. What gifts do you think Shulingman and Wu Iazong will send? Li Zhirui asked suddenly. He had a deep impression of these two families, that is, they were particularly cautious. When they fought with Shenlai Mountain for several days, they did not hear the news of the attack on the rear of Shenlai Mountain, so that although the Li family won in the end, they paid a huge price. If nothing unexpected happens, the gifts prepared by these two families should be 4th-grade spirit beast eggs. I don't know them, but I think they should not send ordinary 4th-grade spirit objects. Li Zhirui smiled and shook his head, without saying his guess. Will Zuanbingzuan come to participate? Logically speaking, the two families are not adjacent to each other, and the Li family did not send an invitation, but if they are not giving up on Texas how, they are likely to take the initiative to come, and maybe even want to form an alliance with the Li family. Hearing what Li Zhirui said, Zhang Fengwu couldn't help but frown and said, The strength of the demon tribe in Taixuzhao is not bad, not to mention that there is a more powerful demon tribe behind them. With the current strength of the family, if we participate in it, the final result may not be too good. Don't worry, I didn't want to agree to them. It's good to have the demon tribe as a barrier. When Taixuzhao was still under the influence of Xuanbing sect, it would invade the south from time to time. After all, the place where Xuanbing sect is located is too bitter and cold. Even if the spiritual energy is rich, it is not suitable for mortals to live, which greatly limits the number of mortals. And the number of mortals, to a certain extent, affects the quality and quantity of cultivators. If Xuanbing sect wants to improve its strength, it must solve the problem of mortals. It is impossible to arrange a large-scale formation to resist the wind and snow like now, because the cost is too high. So if the Li family does not want to conflict with Xuanbing sect, it is better for Taixuzhao to be in the hands of the demon tribe. Moreover, in this way, it also adds a place for Li family cultivators to practice and obtain spiritual objects. As the forces participating in the ceremony entered one by one, the originally empty square was now filled with cultivators. Only the main seat at the top and the first row were still empty. Master Qingshu and Master Yathei, with the golden elixirs of Shuling sect and Wu Iya sect, came to congratulate Master Feng Wu and wish him a promising future and an early ascension. With a song of respect, the cultivators present stood up one after another to show their respect. They were also the only cultivators led by the clan leader Li Zhirui. Everyone thought that the protagonist would appear immediately, but they didn't expect that after waiting for a while. Not to mention Zhang Fengwu, even Li Zhirui didn't show up. Although they didn't dare to speak out. They exchanged glances frequently, wondering why the Li family wanted to offend the two Yuanying sects. A dark light flashed in the eyes of Qingshu and Yathei. If the Li family really made them lose face in front of everyone, they would have to make preparations early when they returned. The true Lord Hanshan of Xuanbing sect has come with a group of golden elixirs to congratulate the true Lord Fengwu and wish him to become an immortal. As soon as these words came out, everyone suddenly realized that there was still a Yuanying sect that had not arrived. Not long after, another true lord appeared on the scene. Welcome to the three Taoist friends. I am busy with work and cannot greet you in person. I hope you can forgive me. Before everyone sat down, Li Zhirui appeared in front of everyone with a hurried look and said apologetically. But as soon as he appeared, Qingshu and the other two were startled. Middle Yuanying. When did he break through? Apostrophe. Chapter 552 Ceremony. Li Zhirui's breakthrough made the three of them unable to react for a while, and no one responded. It doesn't matter, it's just a few steps away, fellow Taoist, it's more important to do business. Qingshu's Henjin came to his senses and said quickly. Thank you for your understanding. Li Zhirui was very satisfied with their reaction, pretending to be enthusiastic and said, Three fellow Taoists, please take a seat quickly, the ceremony is about to begin. Okay. After several Yuanying's Henjins took their seats, the monks dared to sit down. Qingshu and Yathei seemed to look at each other unintentionally, and they saw the complicated expressions in each other's eyes. Li Zhirui's breakthrough did give them a big shock. They were originally inferior in high-end combat power, and now the gap is getting bigger and bigger. After a while, today's protagonist Zhang Fengwu appeared. Dressed in a bright red palace dress and wearing a spiritual jade crown, she was extremely beautiful. Greetings to the true Lord, meetings to the Taoist friend. I wish the true Lord Dao a smooth journey and ascent to the upper realm, including Li Zhirui. All the cultivators stood up to greet and offer their blessings to Zhang Fengwu. Thank you all for coming to the banquet. Let's taste the spiritual food first. I will preach later. As soon as the voice fell, a group of Li family members came out one after another and served the various spiritual food, spiritual fruits and spiritual wines carefully prepared by the Li family. Of course, there were only spiritual fruits and spiritual wines in front of the Yuanying true lords, because they really couldn't find a high-level spiritual chef, so they simply discarded them and worked hard on other aspects. In front of Li Zhirui and others, there was only a pot of 4th-level spiritual wine and 3 5-element jade peaches. It looked a bit shabby, but they all knew how precious it was. 1 jade peach can increase the mana by 10 years. 3 peaches means that they can save 30 years of breathing in and out of spiritual energy. Although in the Yuanying realm, mana is not the most important thing, and the factor of breakthrough lies in the soul, it has a very big impact on combat power. I didn't expect that you could come up with such a precious spiritual fruit. Hong Chan's Henjin looked at Li Zhirui with a little surprise. She had thought that the Li family could not come up with anything good, but the results surprised her. I got this spiritual plant by chance. I spent a lot of effort to keep it alive. The three Taoists should taste it carefully, but in fact, after Li Zhirui got the jade peach spiritual plant, he just planted it in the space, watered it for a few days, and then never cared about it again. This is mainly to highlight the preciousness of the jade peach again. You should have a 5-element jade peach in your hand, right? Li Zhirui instantly understood what Han Chan meant. She wanted the most precious jade peach that combined the 5 elements and helped to break through the transformation of the spirit. My Zhuanbing sect is willing to pay 3 Hanayu fruit spirit seeds and the recipe of Hanayu treasure pill in exchange for this jade peach. I wonder what you think. Before Li Zhirui opened his mouth, Han Chan directly stated the terms of the transaction. Li Zhirui's eyes lit up. The spiritual seeds and the corresponding recipes are not less valuable than jade peaches. Moreover, with a jade peach spirit plant in hand, he can get another 5-element jade peach in 100 years, and it doesn't matter if he trades this one out. However, can Dao Yao decide? Li Zhirui asked hesitantly. Although Han Chan is the Yuanying elder of Zhuanbing sect, with a respected status and lofty status, she is not the only one. This is a spirit seed and a pill formula. Can she really make a decision? Dao Yao, don't worry, Han Chan was full of confidence. She didn't believe that the people in the sect would refuse, or dare to refuse. Li Zhirui's eyes showed a thoughtful look. Why is she so confident? Is it because of her special status in Zhuanbing sect, or for other reasons? His mind was racing, and countless thoughts emerged and dissipated in his mind, and finally he caught a little inspiration. If Li Zhirui remembered correctly, many years ago, there were rumors that Zhuanbing sect had obtained a spirit plant of Yanghe Shinan, but it did not break through. Could it be that the person is still alive now? And Han Chan traded the jade peach for this person who broke through the Shenhe? For a moment, Li Zhirui regretted agreeing to this deal. If, by chance, that person breaks through to the God transformation realm because of this jade peach, wouldn't the Li family have to surrender again? The Li family and the Zhuanbing sect do not have any borders on land, and there is also the Texas Hao, the demon clan's territory, in between, but they can go directly to Banyan Island through the infinite sea. If the Li family does not surrender, then there is only destruction left. Fortunately, Han Chan did not have spiritual objects and pill recipes in her hands, and it was not a deal on the spot, so Li Zhirui still had a chance to regret. Come on, everyone, don't just watch, do it. Li Zhirui immediately called a few people to eat the jade peach. The jade peach is not big, and in order not to lose spiritual energy, it was eaten in 2 or 3 bites. And because Li Zhirui performed the fusion spirit technique, there was no peach pit. This was done mainly to prevent the jade peach from spreading. Although the jade peach spiritual plant cultivated with peach pits will be much worse in grade and quality, it is better than the average 3rd-level spiritual plant anyway. According to Li Zhirui's previous idea, he planned to cultivate a jade peach garden in the family. Even if the grade was lowered, it was still a good spiritual object for giant and cultivators. Not long after, they felt a pure and huge mana generated in their bodies, and it was particularly docile. After a little refining, it was directly integrated into the danshan. It is worthy of being a 5-element jade peach. Just one is equivalent to my 10 years of hard practice, King Shu said a little exaggeratedly. Although the spiritual energy contained in the jade peach is pure, it is still far inferior to the mana that I have cultivated and polished through hard practice. Dao Yao are too kind. Li Zhirui was very humble. However, his attitude made King Shu and Yahe more uneasy. They felt that Li Zhirui was pretending to be harmless to let them relax their vigilance. If Li Zhirui knew what they were thinking, he would definitely tell them that they thought too much. After drinking and eating, they came to the most important part of the day. Zhang Fengwu preached. It's a pity that now, whether it's the Jinden ceremony or the Yuanying ceremony, the so-called preaching doesn't say anything too important. Of course, Zhang Fengwu still said something valuable, such as how to set up the formation faster, and some tips for breaking the formation. As for how to break through the Yuanying, no experience or insights were mentioned. This made many cultivators feel disappointed, but they also felt it was normal. In today's environment where people cherish their own possessions, no family or sect can say anything truly valuable. Dao Yao, when I go back, I will convince the sect as soon as possible, and then bring the spirit seeds and the pill formula to trade. Before leaving, Han Chan specially said to Li Zhirui. Okay, Li Zhirui agreed with a smile, but he was already thinking about how to ruin this deal. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 553 Spiritual Beast. After the sermon, the three Yuanying Zhenjins left with their juniors, and the vassal forces of the Li family stayed. A group of cultivators were uneasy, fearing that the Li family would make excessive demands. The purpose of keeping you is very simple, just to tell you about the obligations and benefits you will have after becoming a vassal of the Li family. Li Zufang's words made everyone feel a little relieved. They had specially inquired before, and relatively speaking, the Li family treated their vassals quite well. Every year, you must offer a spiritual object that is higher than your strength, including exercises in cultivation skills, and when the family initiates a conscription, you must send enough cultivators to participate. During the conscription process, the family will compensate the fallen cultivators. For example, if a foundation building cultivator dies, the compensation is 1 foundation building pill, and if a golden elixir cultivator dies, the compensation is also a group of golden elixir. In fact, the Li family is unlikely to initiate a conscription in a short period of time. After all, the territory has expanded so much all of a sudden, and it needs to be sorted out. And now the forces near the Li family are not easy to mess with. Take Suzhou in the north, Qingxuan sect and Huamo sect in the west, Shuling sect and Wu'ia sect in the south, all of them are Yuanying forces. Moreover, the current territory is enough to support a Yuanying force. If it is not necessary, the Li family is unlikely to take the initiative to attack. Besides, the foundation of the Li family is Wangxin Island, and Wangxin Island is located on the offshore. There are enough sea areas that are not occupied by forces waiting for the Li family to occupy. There is no need to fight with other forces on land. As for the sea beast tide, for the current Li family, this is no longer a disaster that needs to be carefully dealt with, but a grand event for obtaining resources. There is no need to recruit monks at all, it can be easily solved. Li Zufang's eyes swept across the faces of everyone, and then said, every year the family will organize an auction. In addition to various spiritual objects, it will also specially release 10 foundation building pills and a set of golden pills. The above-mentioned spiritual pills are only sold at market prices. The specific force to which they are given depends on their contribution to the development of the family. In simple terms, it is to let all the monks contribute to the development of the Li family. They obtained the foundation building pill and the golden pill, which would certainly increase their own strength, but the strength of the Li family was also growing, and even faster. To surpass the Li family, they would have to be a son of destiny, or the Li family would have encountered a major crisis. Moreover, the Li family always held the dominant position in the distribution of the elixir. It was very easy to manipulate. Many smart cultivators understood the Li family's request on the spot, but what could they do? They had no right to refuse at all. This year, a true master was born in the family, which is great. Therefore, this year's tribute is exempted. On the first day of July, you will each go to the West Mountain Market to participate in the auction. After saying that, Li Zufang picked up the teacup. The West Mountain Market is located at the westernmost part of Wangxin Island, on an island that was deliberately separated and only a dozen miles in size. This is also the second market run by the Li family alone, mainly to facilitate transactions between cultivators from the mainland. The Redwood Market, which was originally located on Wangxin Island, has now been moved to an independent island. In this way, Wangxin Island will only have the Li family cultivators, who can better guard against the prying of cultivators from other forces. Seeing this, all the cultivators said goodbye one after another, and the elders sent them off. As the head of the Yuanying family, although he was only a foundation-building cultivator, his status in the clan was a little higher than that of ordinary giant cultivators, so it was naturally impossible for him to send people off in person. As for the fact that the clan leader's cultivation was too low, Li Zhirui had already found a solution. When Li Zufang's term of office was over, he would let Li Daring or Li Changlin serve as the clan leader. The reason why we had to wait for more than 10 years was because Li Zufang, the clan leader, was doing a good job. We couldn't force him to step down, right? That would be too embarrassing for him, and even more unworthy of his efforts in the development of the family. And Li Zhirui chose Li Daring and Li Changlin for a reason. Compared with the other giant in the family, the two of them had the worst qualifications and were unlikely to make further progress. In addition, Li Zhirui had served as an elder of foreign affairs, so he was still capable of handling affairs, and Li Chenglin was smart and could easily get started. This was also the reason why Li Chengwu was not included in the list of candidates despite his mediocre qualifications. But who to choose depends on their own decision. Li Zhirui can't force them to do something they don't like. After the Yuanying ceremony, Banyan Island returned to its former tranquility. Li Zhirui and Zhang Fengwu were counting the gifts sent by various families in the cave. The Li family had set a rule before that the cost of holding the ceremony would be paid by the individual and the family in half, and it was allowed to be repaid with spiritual objects afterwards. Zhang Fengwu handed over the spiritual objects that were not used to the family, and made up the rest with spiritual stones, so all the precious spiritual objects were in his hands. Have you guessed the gifts from Shulingman and Wu Aizong a long time ago? Zhang Fengwu asked, looking at the two fourth-grade spiritual beast eggs in front of him. Li Zhirui smiled, carefully observed the two spiritual beast eggs for a moment, and said, "One wind and one water, just fit your spiritual roots. Did you only contract a wind rock before? It's just right, let's contract together." The wind rock that Zhang Fengwu contracted before, I don't know if it was a return of blood or a mutation of blood, and the cultivation speed was extremely fast. In just a few decades, he broke through the third level. Fortunately, otherwise Zhang Fengwu would not be able to break through the nascent soul due to the restrictions of the 10,000 Spirits Sutra. These two spirit beasts are the evening wind bluebird and the five-colored dragon carp. Right, the evening wind bluebird has green feathers all over its body and two phoenix tails. When its wings vibrate, it will carry the power of the evening wind, which can slow down the opponent. The five-colored dragon carp is a koi with rich dragon blood. Although it is only a water spirit beast, it can transform water magic power into the other four magic powers through special dragon scales. These two spirit beasts are very good in terms of rank and ability, and the dragon and phoenix blood in their bodies are relatively rich. It will be easier for them to break through the bloodline shackles in the future than ordinary spirit beasts. It should be. Li Zhirui was not surprised at all that Zhang Fengwu recognized the spirit beast's origin. After all, she had memorized all the spirit beasts that came with the 10,000 Spirits Sutra. What are you worried about? Li Zhirui saw that Zhang Fengwu didn't nod, looked at her in confusion, and said, "Let's not talk about me, the master of alchemy. Even you, the fourth level formation master, are not bad at earning spirit stones, so don't worry about the resource problem. You can contract the dragon carp." Li Zhirui was stunned when he heard this, shook his head and smiled. "After I had Xiao Kang, my vision is now high, and I don't like fourth-level spirit beasts anymore." These words were not used to comfort Zhang Fengwu, but his true thoughts. Seeing that Li Zhirui's expression did not seem to be false, Zhang Fengwu did not say anything more about this matter, and took the two spirit beast eggs away, and hatched them later. Chapter 554, Interception. In addition to the two spirit beast eggs, there are also many precious fourth-level spirit objects. See if there are any that can be used, Zhang Fengwu said. Perhaps it was because Li Zhirui had been paying all the time before, and now she has been thinking about compensating him. Okay, Li Zhirui was not polite either. He selected 3 spirit objects with water and wood attributes and took the time to integrate them into his life magic treasure Qianling. Zhang Fengwu took out the spirit objects with yin and yang attributes and put them away. This was her gift to Li Chengsheng and Li Changshuo. It's been more than 10 years. Why hasn't Shu'er come back yet? Even though the life card was intact, Zhang Fengwu knew that she had been training outside for so many years, and she couldn't help but feel a little worried. You know Shu'er's personality is the most stubborn. She said she would come back only after breaking through the golden elixir, so she definitely won't come back early. But how easy is it to break through the golden elixir? Not to mention more than 10 years, it is not impossible for decades. Of course, this can't be said in front of Zhang Fengwu. But this time, Li Zhirui guessed wrong. In the 3rd year after being teleported to the central region, which was also the 8th year of Zhang Fengwu's retreat, Li Changshuo successfully broke through the Jiandan realm. However, many things happened later, and he never came back. Central region. As the calamity clouds in the sky dissipated, the people watching from a distance knew that the other party had successfully passed the calamity. For a while, everyone had different expressions, some were envious, some were jealous, and the world was full of different things. Many giant cultivators wanted to make friends with Li Changshuo, and waited for her to show up and say hello, but they didn't expect that she went directly to consolidate her realm, which made everyone quite embarrassed and left the place one after another. Li Changshuo thought that after consolidating his realm, he would immediately set off to return to his family and give the mysterious black stone to his father Li Zhirui for identification. A few months later, Li Changshuo left the fairy city quietly, and after confirming that no one was following him, he ran to dig out the black stone and flew to the east region by driving the spirit ship. But her journey was quite bumpy. In the most prosperous central region of the cultivation world, the number of giant cultivators is not rare, and it can even be said that they can be seen everywhere. Therefore, a giant cultivator like Li Changshuo who is alone and has just broken through is very easy to be targeted. At the beginning, Li Changshuo suffered a lot, was seriously injured several times, and almost activated the soul-dividing jade slip. Later, she learned to be smart and disguised herself as an ordinary-looking foundation-building cultivator. The spirit ship was also replaced with a most common standard magic weapon, looking like a casual cultivator. In this way, there were indeed fewer cultivators targeting her. The giant cultivators disdained to attack Li Changshuo, a poor guy, and the foundation-building cultivators were not her opponents, which made her journey seem calm. After more than a year of walking and stopping, they finally arrived at the junction of the continent and the region. Fortunately, the place where Li Changshuo was teleported was close to the east region, otherwise it would take several years just to travel. And the next journey is not so safe, because the border area is full of demonic forces. If you want to enter the east region, you must pass through the territory of the demon. Although Li Changshuo was extremely careful and even deliberately chose the weakest force, he still encountered a giant and demon cultivator. A newly promoted giant and cultivator dared to break into my Shafan Valley. He is really looking for death. The demon cultivator's eyes were full of disdain and desire. A corpse of a giant and cultivator is a good material for refining weapons for him. After the magic weapon is refined, it can completely improve his strength to a higher level. Li Changshuo's eyes showed a trace of solemnity. The other party's cultivation is higher than hers, and as an old demon with many years of experience, his methods are powerful and weird. She is not an opponent at all. Not to mention that this is Shafan Valley. Once a battle breaks out, it is very likely to attract more demon cultivators. Therefore, Li Changshuo did not want to entangle with the other party. The first time he ran into him, he drove the spirit ship to fly away, and at the same time threw out several third-level talismans to entangle the other party. The demon cultivator sacrificed a red-skinned gourd, and a ball of bloody fierce wind flew out of it. Under the strong corrosiveness, the spell was rapidly weakened. But in a moment, he rushed out of the encirclement of the spell. At this time, he changed a black gourd in his hand, and the electric evil wind wrapped the whole person, turning into running lightning and chasing Li Changshuo. What Li Changshuo didn't know was that although the strength of the evil wind valley was the weakest among the demon forces, its means were the most bizarre and unpredictable. All kinds of evil winds between heaven and earth were used to perfection by them. Looking at the demon cultivator getting closer and closer to him, Li Changshuo gritted his teeth, activated the last fourth-level talisman, and threw it at him. This is a confinement spell, which just bought Li Changshuo a lot of time to escape. If she encounters such a powerful demon cultivator next time, she can only use Li Zhirui's soul-separating jade slip. And this is what Li Changshuo doesn't want to see. Although its power is powerful, it can be used less and less, which will make Li Zhirui worry. And if it is used up 3 times, when she returns to the family, maybe Li Zhirui will help her make a soul-separating jade slip. This will greatly slow down his cultivation speed. Therefore, Li Changshuo became extra careful. Fortunately, although he encountered many demon cultivators later, they were all foundation-building demon cultivators. He did not waste time on them and just focused on rushing forward. After leaving the territory of Shafan Valley, Li Changshuo finally breathed a sigh of relief. Although there are still some demon cultivators on the next journey, there are other routes to choose from, so he will not take such risks again. Moreover, the cultivation level of the East region is much lower than that of the Central region. With Li Changshuo's giant realm, he generally will not encounter anyone intercepting him on the road. On the way back to Banyan Island, Li Changshuo deliberately took a detour to see the location of the secret realm that teleported her to the Central region, but she did not expect that there were many more cultivators nearby. After asking someone, she learned that the secret realm had been spread. and these cultivators came here to try their luck, hoping to happen to encounter the opening of the secret realm. After understanding the situation clearly, Li Chengshuo went straight to Banyan Island. I heard that you have a 5 elements jade peach. The head of the Nanya Chamber of Commerce suddenly came to visit. After some greetings, he stated the purpose of his visit. The Chamber of Commerce wants to buy the jade peach in your hand. I wonder if you are willing to give it up. A trace of surprise flashed in Li Zhirui's eyes. For many forces, the 5 elements jade peach, which can increase the chance of breaking through the god transformation, is a rare treasure. But for the Nanya Chamber of Commerce, which spans the continent, this should not be a big deal, right? I have already made an agreement with the Zhuanbing sect. They may be on their way now. Li Zhirui did not answer, but talked about other things. The head of the Nanya Chamber of Commerce smiled slightly and said, that was just a verbal promise. Besides, the highest bidder wins. What the Zhuanbing sect can offer, the Chamber of Commerce can also offer. Chapter 555 Dilemma. Li Zhirui smiled upon hearing this and asked, the Zhuanbing sect wants the 5 elements jade peach, probably for a Yuanying's engine to break through to the god transformation stage. I wonder what your Chamber of Commerce is going to use it for by purchasing it at such a high price. Since you asked, I won't hide it, the head shopkeeper said frankly. The Chamber of Commerce is now competing with the Zhuanfa Pavilion for the management rights of a state in the southern region. There is a Yuanying's engine in that family who likes to taste all kinds of spiritual peaches. The Chamber of Commerce wants to buy the jade peach from you and get the exclusive management rights of that place. Really? Li Zhirui did not comment on this. He knew that the Zhuanfa Pavilion also invaded the southern region later, and the two families competed for the market in various places, but a jade peach worth a lot of money was just used to please a Yuanying. Isn't this a bit too shocking? The Chamber of Commerce is willing to offer 2 4th-level spirit seeds and the corresponding pill formula. If you have a preference, you can also bring it up in exchange for the 5 elements jade peaches. Seeing that Li Zhirui had not spoken for a long time, the head shopkeeper took the initiative to ask, what do you think, senior? After hearing the conditions offered by the Nanya Chamber of Commerce, even with Li Zhirui's state of mind, he also had the urge to nod and agree. 2 new 4th-level treasure pills. If you choose a treasure pill similar to the 3 treasure pills of Bikan, Chiang, and Yangsha, and without obvious attribute differences, then from now on, the Li family cultivators in the nascent soul realm will not have to worry about the problem of drug resistance, which is enough to support the nascent soul cultivators to cultivate to the realm of perfection. Thank you for the kindness of the Chamber of Commerce, but in the end, Li Zhirui still forcibly refused. There must be something wrong when things are abnormal. The conditions offered by the Nanya Chamber of Commerce are really too good. Since you are unwilling to give up, the Chamber of Commerce will not force you. The shopkeeper's expression remained unchanged, and he continued to humbly say, then I wonder if you are willing to sell 5 jade peaches with different attributes to the Chamber of Commerce? The price is 10% higher than the market price. Then wait a moment, I will go to the warehouse to pick up 5 jade peaches. The jade peaches were actually in Li Zhirui's hands. He made this excuse just to make it easier for him to perform the soul fusion technique to prevent the peach core from leaking out. After a while, Li Zhirui came back with a jade box. Senior, this is a spirit stone. After checking it, the shopkeeper sealed the spirit with a talisman, and then respectfully presented a storage bag full of spirit stones. A 4th-level jade peach is worth 400,000 spirit stones, and 5 jade peaches are worth 2 million spirit stones. It seems to be a huge fortune, but after the realm is improved, spirit stones are no longer so precious. Because most high-level cultivators barter with goods, unless it is a high-quality spirit stone with pure spiritual energy, or a top-quality spirit stone, few high-level cultivators are willing to trade with spirit stones. The storage bag handed over by the chief shopkeeper contained some high-grade spiritual stones, and the rest were medium-grade spiritual stones. After the transaction was completed, the chief shopkeeper took the initiative to say goodbye and left. The reason of Nanya Chamber of Commerce. Li Zhirui frowned slightly. He always felt something was wrong. Unfortunately, the southern region was too far away, and he couldn't send anyone to investigate the matter. After leaving Banyan Island, the chief shopkeeper did not go all the way south back to Qingshan Prefecture, but suddenly turned on the road and went north to an inconspicuous island. How is it? Is the Li family willing to trade with you? Han Chen asked impatiently after seeing the visitor. After the chief shopkeeper bowed respectfully, he said, that person refused. The Li family is not going to sell the jade peach. Hong Chan's face suddenly became very ugly. Xuanbing sect is now in great need of various spiritual objects that are conducive to breaking through the spirit transformation, but spiritual objects of this use are not easy to come across. It was not easy to meet Li Zhirui, who was willing to sell, but he regretted it the next moment, and now even the Nanya Chamber of Commerce refused. What Li Zhirui didn't know was that Hong Chan had a strange divine power of listening to the heart and hearing the voice, and could hear the other person's thoughts. Of course, the higher the cultivation level of the cultivator being eavesdropped, the less accurate the words heard. At the beginning, Hong Chan only heard a few words from Li Zhirui's heart, among which was the word regret. After some discussion, Xuanbing sect decided to ask Nanya Chamber of Commerce to help put on a show, hoping to get the jade peach through Nanya Chamber of Commerce. Moreover, the spirit seeds and pill formulas handed over to the Li family were all issued by Xuanbing sect. Nanya Chamber of Commerce only needed to send someone to help put on a show, and whether it succeeded or not, it could enter the market under the rule of Xuanbing sect, of course. In order not to be discovered by the Li family, Nanya Chamber of Commerce had already prepared a shell. Senior, if there is nothing else, I will take my leave first. Seeing that things had not made any progress, Hong Chan was in a very bad mood at this time, and waved his hand impatiently to drive people away. Go back and ask the brothers to see if they have any ideas. Hong Chan really couldn't think of any good way, so he could only go back for help. After Hong Chan returned to Xuanbing sect, she immediately found several fellow apprentices and discussed with them how to complete the deal with the Li family. But facing such a vigilant and suspicious Li Zhirui, they really couldn't think of any good way. The conditions given by Xuanbing sect far exceeded the value of the 5 elements jade peach, and the Nanya Chamber of Commerce, which was on good terms with the Li family, did not make Li Zhirui agree. What else should they do? And the higher the conditions they offered, the more vigilant Li Zhirui became, and the more unwilling he became. If we don't force the Li family, we can not only get the 5 elements jade peach, but also directly snatch the spiritual plant back, a Yuanying's engine suddenly said. Xuanbing sect has 5 Yuanying's engines on the surface, plus the 3 who are in seclusion, a total of 8 people, plus the Jinden, foundation building and other disciples. The strength is several times that of the Li family. Even if the Li family has a 4th level island protection formation, it is likely that they will be defeated in the end. But the problem is, if too many cultivators are mobilized, then the Great Snow Mountain Demon Tribe to the west of Xuanbing sect and the Taixia Demon Tribe to the south will definitely not miss such a good opportunity. But if enough cultivators are left to resist the 2 demon tribes, there is no way to defeat the Li family and seize the 5 elements jade peach on the opponent's home turf, Banyan Island. For a time, several people were in a dilemma. At the same time, a grand auction was held in Zishan Market. The organizer was of course the Li family, but the cultivators participating in the auction were not only a group of vassal forces, but also nearby Immortal Cultivation forces such as Shulingman and Wu Iya sect, all sent people to participate. The reason why these big forces came to participate was, first, because the Li family released a lot of good things, and second, they wanted to take this opportunity to build a good relationship with Li Zhirui, the master of alchemy, so that they could buy the treasure pills directly from the Li family, and no longer need to go through the Chamber of Commerce to buy the high-priced treasure pills. And Li Zhirui also wanted to make friends with more nascent soul cultivators through the auction. If he had a wide circle of friends and made friends with enough nascent soul cultivators, then in the future any force that wanted to take action against the Li family would have more concerns. Chapter 556 Angry. Each of them had their own purpose and were willing to make friends. In addition, the Li family did bring out a lot of good things, so this auction was particularly successful. Several Yuanying's engines got the precious pills they wanted, and Li Zhirui also gained their friendship. Although this friendship was extremely false, at least there was such a relationship, and he could slowly manage it in the future. After an auction, the family earned more than 200,000 spirit stones, Li Zhirui said to Zhang Fengwu in private with surprise after reading the data. This amount of spirit stones was not the flow of the auction, but the spirit stones obtained from the premium of the spirit objects after deducting the market price. No wonder so many chambers of commerce are keen on holding auctions. It turns out that there are such great benefits. Zhang Fengwu was also surprised by this number. In fact, the Li family has held many auctions before, but not many cultivators participated, so the benefits were far less than now. Moreover, the Li family did not prepare too many things for this auction, only dozens of auction items, which is about 1/3 of the same auction. With the experience gained this time, we will prepare well next year and earn more spiritual stones. Although spiritual stones are not so important to them now, the development of the family cannot be separated from spiritual stones. The auction brought a huge flow of customers to the Zishan market. The clansmen who set up stalls and sold spiritual objects in the market during those days all earned a small amount of spiritual stones. This incident soon spread widely within the family, triggering a series of chain reactions. More clansmen became more concerned and valued various cultivation skills, because they saw a golden way to make money from it. Fortunately, Li Zhifang noticed something wrong in time and hurriedly stopped it, so that more clansmen did not indulge in cultivation skills and neglected to improve their own cultivation. Li Zhirui heard about the relevant news after the incident. In this regard, he can only say that those clansmen who abandoned cultivation are too short-sighted. They only see that they can earn spiritual stones at present, but they don't see that the easier it is to get spiritual stones in the future. Of course, some of the clansmen chose to study cultivation skills because their potential has reached its limit and they can't move forward. But it's good this way. This part of the clan can provide more cultivation resources for the family. One day, suddenly, a clan member knocked on the door and said that Han Shan's Henjin of Zuanbing sect had arrived at Wangsan Island and wanted to complete the deal with him a few months ago. You actually sent someone here now? Li Zhirui showed a hint of surprise in his eyes. Han Shan said it confidently at that time. He thought that in a few days, the other party would come to visit again, but he didn't expect that several months had passed and Li Zhirui had forgotten about it. She suddenly came again. Li Zhirui went to the gate to greet her in person to show respect. But Han Shan asked directly when she saw him, Dao Arao, I have persuaded several fellow disciples to bring spirit seeds and pale recipes. I wonder if you still have the 5 elements jade peach. Li Zhirui's eyes flashed with surprise. He didn't expect the other party to be so direct, so he had to say, I'm sorry to disappoint you. The jade peach has been bought by someone. What? Han Shan exclaimed in a somewhat out of control. Sorry, I'm rude. After calming down, he asked, I wonder if you can tell me who the buyer is. The other party specifically asked me to keep it secret. In fact, the jade peach was in Li Zhirui's hands, but he didn't want to sell it to Zuanbing sect, so he just found a reason. Even if the other party thinks it's fake, what does it matter? Is there any evidence? Han Shan forced a smile and hurriedly said goodbye and left. Li Zhirui looked at her leaving back, his eyes unconsciously narrowed, and his face showed a thoughtful look. He always felt that the other party had other purposes. Humph, the moment he left Wangsan Island, Han Shan's expression suddenly became cold and ugly. He actually used such a lame excuse to prevaricate her. But the sect couldn't do anything to the Li family now, so they could only give up. Finally back, Li Chengshuo stood in the sky above Wangsan Island, looking down at the island that was not quite the same as she remembered, and murmured, over the years, the family has actually undergone such a big change. The island protection formation. Li Chengshuo looked carefully, and his face suddenly showed ecstasy, saying, this is a 4th level formation. Could it be that Mother has already broken through the nascent soul? Thinking of this, Li Chengshuo couldn't wait to fly towards the gate, wanting to verify her guess with her own eyes. Because of the change of the formation, her identity jade card could not enter the clan land directly, and she needed to go through the gate and be led by the clan members to safely pass through the formation. After thanking the clan members who brought her in, Li Chengshuo ran towards the cave house at the fastest speed, but saw 3 closed doors. Li Zhirui was in seclusion to make elixirs, Zhang Fengwu was upgrading his life magic weapon, and Li Chengsheng was cultivating his group of Chaoyangwu in the Spirit Beast mountain range. It is worth mentioning that, under the unremitting efforts of Li Shilian and Li Chengshen, the rank of the group of Chaoyangwus bred by the Li family is slowly and steadily improving. Perhaps a few hundred years later, the Li family will give birth to a group of 4th-grade spirit beasts. At the same time, the hybrid breeding of Chaoyangwus and Lihiro birds is also underway. And not long ago, among the latest batch of hybrid spirit birds, a very healthy spirit beast that can accommodate both the Sun Spirit Fire and Lihiro was born. You know, whether it is the Sun Spirit Fire or the Nanming Lihiro, they are the most powerful spirit fires in the world. Even if they are restricted by the blood of spirit beasts and their power is greatly weakened, the quality is there and they cannot coexist in the same spirit beast. But I didn't expect a miracle to happen. Therefore, The blood of the spirit beast mutated, and even Li Zhirui and Zhang Fengwu couldn't give an accurate judgment. However, neither of them suggested that Li Chengsheng contract this hybrid spirit beast, because it looks fine now, but it may break out in the future. If it is serious, it is very likely to cause the death of the spirit beast. For Li Chengsheng, who practices the 10,000 Spirits Sutra, once the spirit beast dies, he will not be able to improve his cultivation in the future unless he changes his practice. Li Chengsheng, who seems to be taciturn, mature and steady, is particularly rebellious in this matter. He actually secretly signed a contract with a spirit beast. When Li Zhirui and Zhang Fengwu found out, it was too late. The two were so angry that they wanted to beat him up. Speaking of which, after Li Chengsheng returned to the cave, he sat in the pavilion, waiting for Li Zhirui and the others. She was also lucky. In the evening of that day, Li Zhirui refined all the spirit objects in his hand into elixirs and walked out of the alchemy room. Sure, Li Zhirui looked at his daughter who suddenly appeared and hadn't seen her for more than 10 years, and there was some uncertainty in his voice. "Daddy, it's me." Li Chengsheng smiled brightly and said, "I'm back." Chapter 557 Spiritual Realm. After hearing Li Chengsheng's voice, Li Zhirui was sure that he saw a real person, not an illusion, and said in surprise, "You have broken through the Jinden, of course." Li Chengsheng showed a proud look. Good, good, your mother will be very happy when she comes out of retreat." Li Zhirui applauded repeatedly. Li Chengsheng's breakthrough to the Jinden also put his mind at ease. Li Chengsheng asked, "What about you, Dad? Aren't you happy for me?" "Of course I am happy." Li Zhirui's smile was about to overflow, as if he suddenly remembered something, and asked, "When you broke through the Jinden, you were not more than 100 years old, right?" If he remembered correctly, Li Chengsheng's current age was more than 100 years old. No, Li Chengsheng was stunned when he heard this, and didn't understand why Li Zhirui suddenly asked about this, but she still calculated carefully and shook her head. "That's good." Li Zhirui was relieved and nodded with satisfaction. "Dad, why do you suddenly ask such a thing? Is there something special about the 100-year-old golden pill?" Li Zhirui knew that she didn't like to look through the classics and might not know about the myriad immortal secret realm, so he gave her a brief introduction. The last time the myriad immortal secret realm was opened, he got a lot of treasures from it, including the infant transformation pill, Xiaokang, and the myriad spirit sutra refining void realm, all of which were obtained from the mysterious stone tower in the secret realm. There is such a magical secret realm. I must go in and get better treasures when the time comes. Li Zhirui did not comment on Li Chengsheng's bold words, but reminded him, it is still more than 100 years before the secret realm is opened. You and Shenzher must seize the time, practice hard, and improve your cultivation and strength as soon as possible. Don't worry, Daddy. After being interrupted by Li Zhirui, Li Chengsheng remembered the black stone he had brought back specially. He took out one and handed it to Li Zhirui, asking, "Do you know what kind of spiritual object this is?" "Huh?" Li Zhirui looked at her with doubtful eyes, not understanding why she took out a piece of black stone that had no spiritual energy or spiritual light and looked extremely ordinary. If Li Chengsheng had not seen the huge black stone engraved with array patterns at the beginning, she would not have had any idea about the black stone, but later found that it could not be stored in the storage magic weapon. Li Chengsheng was really tempted and took some black stones out of the secret realm. "Dad, aren't you curious about why I came back so late?" "It's because I was teleported to the central region by these black stones." Li Zhirui told his experience in detail. Li Zhirui listened patiently, and his eyes towards the black stones suddenly changed. "Are you sure it's because of the black stones?" "Not for other reasons, I can be sure." Li Chengsheng nodded and said, "I took hundreds of black stones with me, but after leaving the secret realm, I found that there were only more than 70 pieces left. Such a large number, it's impossible that she dropped it without noticing, right?" After hearing the explanation, Li Zhirui no longer doubted it, but he couldn't recognize what kind of spiritual object this black stone was. He could only wait for Zhang Fengwu to come out of retreat to see if she could recognize it. As an alchemist, if it was a spiritual object related to alchemy, he might be able to recognize it, but for spiritual materials like this that have nothing to do with it, Li Zhirui's knowledge is not that wide. "You've worked hard on this journey. Go back and rest first. We'll talk about it after Fengwu comes out of retreat." "Okay." Li Chengsheng handed all the remaining black stones to Li Zhirui and walked into his own independent courtyard. The black stone can't be put into the space artifact, So can it be put into the space? After Li Zhirui returned to the room, an idea suddenly popped into his mind. Then he decisively tried it. It didn't matter if he failed. With a thought, the black stone in his hand disappeared, but Li Zhirui could feel that it was quietly suspended above the space and was shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. Huh? Li Zhirui said to himself in disbelief. The space is actually getting bigger, although the speed is so slow that it can be ignored. Even if he is not the master of space, he can't find such a subtle change, but the fact of space expansion is undeniable. You know, except for Li Zhirui's breakthrough in the Great Realm, the space will expand by itself. No matter what method he uses, he can't expand the area of space. But now, an inconspicuous black stone has done it. This black stone can not only teleport Shu'er to the distant central region, but also expand the area of the space. Logically speaking, it should be a very famous spiritual object, Li Zhirui muttered to himself, or has the black stone long disappeared in the long river of time and been forgotten by the world? Unfortunately, the number of black stones is still too small. Li Zhirui just estimated that a piece of black stone can expand the space outward by less than 1/10 of a centimeter. 1 centimeter is about 0.03 centimeters. Even if all these dozens of black stones are used up, it will not help. Moreover, the area of the space is already very large, which can fully meet his needs for planting various spiritual objects. So Li Zhirui did not continue to invest black stones into the space. A few days later, Zhang Fengwu finally walked out of the quiet room. On this day, Li Zhirui, Zhang Fengwu, Li Chengsheng and Li Changshuo's family of 4 rarely gathered together. In addition to privately celebrating Li Changshuo's breakthrough of the golden core, it was also to identify what kind of spiritual object the black stone is. I have never heard of such a spiritual object. After listening to Li Changshuo's description, Zhang Fengwu pondered for a long time, but did not find any spiritual objects related to it in his mind. It's okay. There are many kinds of spiritual objects like the stars in the sky. It's normal not to know them. Li Zhirui smiled and said, since you know what the spiritual objects are used for, just study them in this direction. Zhang Fengwu shook his head again and said, are you talking about the teleportation array? Impossible, not to mention that the relevant array patterns have been lost for a long time. The space in this world is relatively solid. If you want to establish a stable space channel, I am afraid it will cost a huge price, and this is just maintenance. If the array is activated, Zhang Fengwu estimates that at least a 4th-level spiritual vein will produce spiritual energy for several days. Why only focus on teleportation? Li Zhirui certainly knows how difficult the teleportation array is, so he didn't focus on teleportation from the beginning. We can study the characteristics of black stone in space. Li Zhirui smiled and said, it is said that only the ancestors of the transformation of gods are qualified to open up the spiritual realm, but we may be able to use the black stone to open up a small spiritual realm in advance. The so-called spiritual realm is actually the predecessor of the secret realm. The difference between the two is that the spiritual realm is attached to the spiritual vein, while the secret realm is because no one takes care of it and fixes it, so it slowly separates from the spiritual vein and merges into the boundary membrane. Of course, the process of the spiritual realm turning into a secret realm is far more complicated than Li Zhirui knows. Chapter 558 Difficult. What are the benefits of opening up a spiritual realm? First of all, the area of the spiritual realm will not be too large at the beginning, but the spiritual energy inside is rich, half a level higher than the spiritual vein it is attached to, and can be used to cultivate precious spiritual objects and provide a better place for retreat. Secondly, the spiritual realm that has been opened up needs a high-level spiritual plant to suppress it and fix it in the spiritual vein, and the suppressed spiritual plant has a chance to transform and become a more precious spiritual root. Li Zhirui's somewhat whimsical idea was unanimously agreed by the 3 people, who felt that this was indeed a good research direction. In fact, if it weren't for the space being able to absorb black stones to expand the area, Li Zhirui would not have thought of this. As for how to do it specifically, everyone needs to study together. Of course, the main force of the research is naturally Zhang Fengwu, the array master. By the way, I had something before, but I forgot to take it out. Li Changshuo also remembered that he had recorded the image stone on the big black stone after returning to the room a few days ago, but he didn't take it out. Li Zhirui felt dizzy when he saw the complicated and dense array patterns. He had no knowledge of array formations, so he just endured the discomfort and looked at them for a few times, then immediately looked away. Li Chengsheng's reaction was even greater. He closed his eyes instantly. After a long while, as if he had digested the powerful impact, he slowly opened his eyes, but he didn't dare to look at the array patterns again. These array patterns seemed to be several types of superpositions and interweaving together. Zhang Fengwu not only had a high level of cultivation, but also had a strong talent for array formations. He could actually see some clues of the array patterns in a very short time. Li Chengshuo had studied the real objects for several days at first, but he didn't find it. It was only later that he slowly figured it out in his spare time on the road. The workload is too large. Even for me, it will take several years, or even more than 10 years, to completely analyze the array patterns. Zhang Fengwu shook her head helplessly. She was very busy now and couldn't spare too much energy to study these array patterns. Although Zhang Fengwu knew that there might be something good in these array patterns, a person's time and energy were limited after all, and she could not take care of two major projects. Don't worry, just take your time, Li Zhirui advised. Anyway, they have a long lifespan, and these few years, more than 10 years, are nothing. After finishing the business, the few people relaxed immediately. Dad, Mom, Brother, I am also a Jinden's Henren, where are your gifts? Li Chengshuo looked at the two with expectation. I have prepared it for you a long time ago. Li Zhirui and Zhang Fengwu gave her spiritual objects of the 4th level Taiyin attribute, which just matched her spiritual roots. Li Chengsheng could not give her such a high-level spiritual object, but the gift he gave was also satisfactory. I will go to forge my own life magic weapon now. Li Chengshuo, who got the spiritual object, couldn't wait to refine a magic weapon that belonged to him alone. Go, go. Li Zhirui waved his hand and asked the two siblings to leave. When Li Chengsheng said goodbye, he also said, Shenzhe, you must pay more attention to the mutant spirit beast, otherwise you can only switch to practicing martial arts in the future. Don't worry, I know my limits, Li Chengsheng said. I named him Yangli. When the population grows in the future, it will be called Yangli Firebird. It's a good name, which can well reflect the characteristics of the spirit bird. Since he cultivated it, it was natural for him to name it. After the brother and sister left, Zhang Fengwu was still immersed in the array pattern, as if he could crack it before tomorrow, and he knew nothing about the situation outside. In the end, he was forcibly taken back to the room by Li Zhirui. At the same time, in Qingshan Prefecture, on a hidden hill, several black-robed monks gathered here stealthily. Shenlai Mountain really made a mistake. It obviously had an advantage, but in the end it ended up being killed. What a bunch of trash, especially now, there is no suitable way to recycle waste, another demon cultivator said dissatisfiedly. The sects behind them never gave up the plan to invade Qingshan Province, but now the forces in Qingshan Province are complicated, and they need to make detailed calculations. The complex distribution of forces in Qingshan Province is more beneficial to demon-tainted cultivators. Let's strengthen our strength first, otherwise, they have to do everything themselves, which will greatly distract their attention and make them even busier. Don't worry, this kind of trivial matter is completely easy for us. As giant and demon cultivators, they can not only seduce cultivators, but also force cultivators to switch to magic cultivation. When the three sects were not paying attention, demon cultivation quietly spread among the cultivators, especially the casual cultivators, who could not resist the temptation of cultivation speed. It's too difficult. I feel that if I can unlock all the Blackstone array patterns, I may be able to study the 5th level array. Zhang Fengwu sounded like he was complaining, but his eyes were full of excitement. After all, there is motivation only when there is pressure, and those array patterns are a fatal temptation for any array master. Fengwu, you should spend some time and energy on cultivation, Li Zhirui reminded. The nascent soul realm is a long and arduous process. It requires a long period of accumulation and cultivation before one can achieve a breakthrough to the spiritual transformation realm. And daily cultivation is the time for accumulation. I know, don't worry, I will pay attention. Although Zhang Fengwu is keen on formations, he is not a fanatical fanatic. He just lost his sense of proportion these days because he was excited about the prey. That's good. The next few months were dull and everyone was busy with their own affairs. Zhang Fengwu's formation pattern analysis is a very huge project, and now there is only a little progress. Li Chengsheng's Yangli Firebird looks very healthy and is growing rapidly. Li Chengshuo's life treasure is still in the process of refining spiritual materials. After all, The difficulty of refining 4th-level spiritual objects is much higher and requires more time. As for Li Zhirui, in addition to refining pills, he pays attention to the cultivation progress of several spiritual beasts and cultivates the vine spiritual seeds that Li Zhirui brought back from the secret realm. After such a long period of cultivation, he finally got a 4th-order vine. But unfortunately, perhaps because of being too eager for quick success, the potential of the spirit seed was exhausted and there was no way to go further. But even so, Li Zhirui was very satisfied. The appearance of the 4th-order vine greatly improved his strength, and it was enough for a short period of time. But apart from this happy event, Li Zhirui has not made any progress so far. Decking, Zhaoking, and even Xiaokeng, the 3 spirit beasts' cultivation is still stagnant. The 4th-order Fenki grass has not seen any signs of success. Chapter 559 Completion. There are actually many solutions to the problem of the 4th-order Fenki grass. You can continue to wait like now. The advantage is to save spirit stones, but the disadvantage is uncertainty. There is no guarantee when a 4th-order Fenki grass can grow. As for the other method, Li Zhirui has been working hard for it. That is to accumulate spirit stones. As long as Li Zhirui has enough spirit stones, he can use induced birth to make a large number of 3rd-order Fenki grass mature in a short period of time, and then repeat this process until the desired 4th-order Fenki grass is cultivated. But this method will consume a large amount of spirit stones, and to a certain extent, it is also quite dependent on luck. Li Zhirui naturally made the worst plan, so he has been accumulating spirit stones for these years, just waiting for the final outbreak to cultivate the 4th-order Fenki grass in one fell swoop. But Li Zhirui has no good ideas for the breakthrough of Decking and Xiaokeng, and can only rely on their own efforts. Speaking of it, they all stagnated their cultivation because of bloodline problems, but one was because of the low grade of bloodline and the bottleneck was solid, the other was because of the high grade of bloodline and needed a lot of accumulation. What Li Zhirui can do is to provide them with enough spiritual objects. Once Decking and Zhaoking succeed in breaking through, his strength will soar instantly. Master, more than 40% of the disciples who went down the mountain to practice have died during this period. This has caused panic in the sect, and many disciples dare not leave the mountain gate. An elder of Lingayan sect said with a worried face, if this continues, many spiritual objects will not be replenished in time, and the alchemy room and other places may have to shut down. Is the matter so serious? The master looked serious and said in a deep voice, this is a matter of great importance. Please ask Elder Su and Elder Zhang to discuss this matter together. Elder Su was Su Changel at the time. During his decades as the master, he barely gathered and appeased the Lingayan sect. Although the strength was not as good as before, it had at least recovered a little. And Elder Zhang was a new giant and cultivator who had broken through in recent years. As many as 40% of the disciples who were practicing outside have died. After leaving office, Su Changel, who had devoted himself to cultivation, looked at the master and the elders with a grim look. Such a big thing, but they waited until the truth could no longer be hidden before telling him. Everyone lowered their heads, not daring to look at Su Changel. Do you know who is behind this? Su Changel suppressed his anger and said coldly. According to the disciples who escaped, it should be the demon cultivators who did it. Demon cultivators? Su Changel's face changed. There is a demon cultivator sect in the northwest and northeast of Qingshan Prefecture, namely the Confused Heart Demon sect and the Fire Demon sect. Could it be that the Confused Heart Demon sect is still ruthless? The Fan family and the Muling sect were controlled by the Confused Heart Demon sect, so that Qingshan Prefecture changed its owner in the end and is now controlled by the 3 major nascent soul forces. If it is really the Confused Heart Demon sect that is behind the plot, then this is not something that their Lingayan sect can get involved in. Tell the Li family about this and ask them to help solve the demon problem. Su Changel ordered decisively. Give the order, let the disciples not leave the mountain gate unless necessary. Yes. I will arrange an elder to go to Banyan Island to ask for help. The head of the sect also realized that the situation was more serious than he thought, and nodded in agreement. By the way, what is the situation of the other 2 families? It is impossible for the Confused Demon sect to attack only them. Because we are far away, we are the one with the least loss among the 3 forces, the head of the sect said with a smile. At least they only lost 40% of their disciples, but the younger generations of the other 2 families died as much as 60%. Another demon cultivator appeared in Qingshan province. Li Zufeng received the elder from Lingayan sect after hearing his purpose. His expression became much more solemn. The elder said exaggeratedly, "Yes, and there are quite a few demon cultivators. If things continue like this, I'm afraid it won't be long before the entire Qingshan province will be occupied by demon cultivators. I know. I will report this to the ancestor in time. No matter what, the hard confusing demon sect is a Yuanying force. It is a serious matter and he cannot make the decision." After sending the elder away, Li Zhifeng informed the elders and ran to see Li Zhirui. Did something big happen? Li Zhirui knew that Li Zhifeng would not come to disturb him for ordinary things. Li Zhifeng used concise and clear words to explain the crisis in Qingshan province, and then asked, "Ancestor, should we help Lingayan sect overcome the crisis? Of course, if we don't help, how will other vassal forces view the Li family? It would be bad if they left an impression that they only take money but don't do anything. Gather the tribesmen. I will lead the team myself, but I will not take action unless I encounter a demon cultivator with greater strength than ours." It was just the right time to use this demon cultivator disaster to train the tribesmen who had grown up over the years. Yes, Li Zhifeng was relieved when he heard this. After all, could Li Zhirui still watch the tribesmen fall in front of him? Should we issue a call for conscription? No need. Since the demon cultivators in Qingshan state dare not show up, their strength must not be too strong. Li Zhirui shook his head. Moreover, conscription not only takes a lot of time, but also requires the family to provide supplies. Not to mention whether there is enough time. Just for the latter, the Li family cannot provide so many spiritual objects in a short time. I know. All the questions were answered. Li Zhifeng said goodbye immediately and summoned the elders to form a team with sufficient supplies as quickly as possible. However, after a few hours, Li Zhifeng sent someone to ask Li Zhirui to lead the team to set off. "Let's go." After a while, Li Zhirui came to the gathering place and saw Li Changshuo in the crowd at first sight. His brows slightly frowned, but thinking that this trip would not be too dangerous and that she had grown a lot over the years, he let her go. In addition, there were several giant cultivators such as Li Chenglin, Li Shengwu, and Li Dawen. It can be said that except for Li Changshen, who is keen on cultivating spirit beasts, and the timid Li Daren, all the giant cultivators in the family have arrived. In addition to the Jiandan clan members, Li Zhirui's biggest concern is Li Xiangxin, who practices the Tai Zunfeng Daojing. After decades of practice, he is now in the late stage of foundation building and is only one step away from forming a pill. This speed of practice is not worse than that of Li Chengsheng and Li Changshu, who have more resources, and his personality charm is strong. He is a recognized leader of their generation. If nothing unexpected happens, more than 100 years later, when the 10,000 Immortal Secret Realm reopens, Li Xiangxin will also have a place. There are also several juniors who have performed well. Although they are not as dazzling as Li Xiangxin, they are all golden elixir seeds, and are expected to break through when they are more than 100 years old. In another 10 or 20 years, some of the shortcomings of the Li family will be made up. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 560, Exorcism. Led by Li Zhirui, the group arrived at Lingayan sect in just 1 hour. Have you found any traces of the demon cultivators? If there are no clues, they will have to spend time looking around, or use special spells to investigate one by one, but no matter which one, it is too troublesome. Reporting to the True Lord, there are many demon cultivators hiding among the scattered cultivators, and we can't distinguish them one by one, Su Chengel said in a low voice. Well, then let's check them one by one, Li Zhirui asked again. Notify all the markets and immortal cities under your jurisdiction to close the formation and prohibit the cultivators from leaving. Only in this way can more demon cultivators be killed. As for solving this disaster of demon cultivators, this is not something that can be done in a short time. After all, there must be many demon cultivators hiding in the wilderness. Can the Li family find them bit by bit? But this approach will put the cultivators in the formation in danger, especially those Lingayan sect disciples who control the formation. They will become the primary target of the demon cultivators. Yes, Su Changel also thought of this result, but he couldn't refuse, so he could only let someone notify them. Similar to the Li family's Bailey Tongsheng Bell, A stream of spiritual light flew out from the mountain gate and spread to all the towns and immortal cities at the fastest speed. Activate the formation. Prohibit the cultivators from leaving. Be careful of the casual cultivators approaching you. Why did the sects suddenly issue such an order? Many cultivators guarding outside were puzzled, but no one disobeyed the order and activated the formation to prevent the casual cultivators from leaving. They were not very well informed. They only knew that there were many demon cultivators causing trouble, but they did not know how serious it was. After all, they were trapped in a corner and the incident did not happen around them, so they naturally did not know much. Why did the formation suddenly start? A group of casual cultivators looked up, and someone speculated, could it be that the demon cultivators suddenly attacked, but they waited for a long time and did not see any trace of the demon cultivators, so they became more curious about the formation that was activated for no reason. But some cultivators suddenly felt a little uneasy, as if a disaster was about to happen. We must have been discovered, so Lingayan sect opened the formation and wanted to catch us all in one fell swoop. Several monks who had changed to the magic method gathered together to discuss what to do next. While the monks of Lingayan sect have not arrived yet, kill the monks who control the formation and destroy the formation. If there's a chance, you can also rob the market. The situation was urgent, and the few people did not have time to discuss too much, so they started to act. Unfortunately, the disciples of Lingayan sect were well prepared and did not give the demon cultivators a chance, but instead exposed their identities. They were eliminated by many monks. But there are always accidents. 2 disciples of Lingayan sect in the fairy city were accidentally killed by the demon cultivators, resulting in the loss of the entire fairy city, and the demon cultivators in the city disappeared without a trace. Speaking of which, after getting the detailed map of Lingayan sect, Li Zhirui divided the tribesmen into different teams, each of which went to deal with the demon cultivators in their assigned positions. He himself stayed where he was, waiting for the tribesmen to come back. After all, judging from the current situation, the demon cultivators did not have a nascent soul, so there was no need for Li Zhirui to appear. Li Chengshuo rushed to the fairy city assigned to her at the fastest speed, stood in the air, and said, "There are demon cultivators lurking among you. In order to prove your identity, everyone must cast a spell to get out of the formation. This is the simplest and cheapest way. They may be able to make people unable to detect their identity as demon cultivators by means such as restraining their breath, but once they cast a spell, they will be exposed. Because the mana in the bodies of cultivators and demon cultivators is completely different." Damn it! Why are the cultivators of the Li family here? The demon cultivator hiding in the crowd looked very ugly after hearing those words. His own cultivation level is only the foundation building stage, and he is not Li Chengshuo's opponent. It is impossible to break out of the siege. If he continues to stay in the fairy city, he will also be regarded as a demon cultivator, or his identity as a demon cultivator will be directly found out. Li Chengshuo's words caused an uproar among the cultivators. Many cultivators who cherish their lives cast spells in order to leave first and avoid being in the same space with dangerous guys. A quarter of an hour later, Li Chengshuo's powerful spiritual sense swept the entire market and found many people hiding in dark and hidden corners. There are so many demon cultivators, this is just a small fairy city. Normally, the number of cultivators is only 1 or 2,000, but the demon cultivators, just the ones Li Chengshuo just discovered, there are as many as 70 or 80. Counting the demon cultivators who are hiding very deep, there are probably more than 100 people, which is 1/10 of the number of local cultivators. It seems that the demon cultivators in Lingayan sect are indeed flooding. Before she finished speaking, she saw Li Chengshuo stretched out her hand to condense light, and arrows of light formed in front of her and shot at the cultivators she found. The arrows of light were fast and merged between heaven and earth. Even if the demon cultivators saw Li Chengshuo taking action, they had no way to defend themselves. Even if they held up the defensive spiritual light, they still couldn't escape death under the continuous attack of several arrows of light. However, the demon cultivators she killed were all those with higher cultivation, and the rest were naturally left to the tribesmen behind her to deal with. 2 flowers bloom, each showing its own beauty. Li Zhirui, who is in the late stage of foundation building, also got a position as a team leader, but they encountered a big trouble. There was actually a giant and demon cultivator in the market assigned to them. Before they arrived, the cultivators in the market had been slaughtered by him. When Li Zhirui distributed the tasks, he deliberately gave the market with fewer cultivators to Li Zhirui team, which only had foundation-building people. The purpose was to reduce the possibility of them encountering high-level demon cultivators, but they didn't expect that they would still encounter Li Zhirui and his team. Moreover, he could have broken the formation and left directly, but he kept hiding. His purpose was to wait until Li Zhirui and others arrived and kill all the cultivators. I have just sent a distress signal, and the elder closest to us will arrive in less than a quarter of an hour. Everyone hold on, Li Zhirui shouted loudly, hoping to boost the morale of the tribesmen. He knew that they could not be the opponent of the giant and demon cultivator, but if they turned around and ran away, they would probably die more and faster. Instead, if they stayed and fought desperately, they might have a greater chance of survival. Haha, do you look down on me, or do you think you are very powerful? The demon cultivator laughed loudly, as if he had heard a joke. Li Zhirui did not respond, but stared at the other party with full concentration, holding the fan tightly in his right hand. As long as the other party made a move, he would be able to follow immediately. You don't know how to live or die? Not knowing where he had provoked the other party, the demon cultivator instantly became furious. A black light shot up into the sky, directly tore the formation apart, and the remaining power was still undiminished, and he rushed straight towards Li Zhirui. Chapter 561 Breakthrough. Facing this man-eating pressure, Li Zhirui could only suppress his fear and activate the gathering fan. Spiritual winds came from all directions, turning into sharp swords, and the cold light filled the sky, looking very scary. But in front of that ordinary black light, it was nothing at all. Just a little closer would cause it to break into spiritual light, and it could not cause any harm to it at all. Seeing that the black light was about to devour Li Zhirui, he had to activate a third-level defense talisman, and a yellowish-brown spiritual light instantly protected everyone. Since Li Zhirui's death, Li Chenglin and Li Darren have successfully succeeded him as the family's third-level talisman maker after a lot of practice. Because there are two healthy talisman makers, the third-level talismans in the Li family are no longer as rare as before. What I hate most in my life is you so-called proud children of heaven. I will tear you to pieces, but the demon cultivator didn't know this. He just thought that Li Zhirui was highly valued, and stared at him with eyes as if he was poisoned. No one knew what kind of humiliation the demon cultivator had experienced, which made him hate every cultivator who was valued by his teacher so much. Hold on a little longer, the elders will be here soon. Li Zhirui remained calm under tremendous pressure, and stopped the tribesmen behind him from panicking. But what he didn't know was that the calmer he was, the more furious the demon cultivator's anger burned, and he even lost his mind in the end. For a demon cultivator, especially an evil cultivator like him who changed from a cultivator to a demon sect, and whose cultivation level improved by leaps and bounds in a short period of time, there was no such thing as a heart of Tao. The whole person was like a beast, and he only knew how to attack crazily, wanting to kill Li Zhirui and his group to vent his anger. The defensive talisman was soon broken by him, and the cocky aura disappeared like everyone's hope, and the group was all exposed to the opponent's attack. He has lost his mind. Hurry up, Li Zhirui said to the tribesmen behind him. I still have two third-level talismans in my hand, which can hold us until the elders come. Several tribesmen wanted to stay to help, but they were all driven away by Li Zhirui. Since the main target of the demon cultivator was him, it would be enough to leave him as a bait, and there was no need to put others in danger. Watching everyone gradually go away, Li Zhirui activated the only talisman in his hand, temporarily entangled the demon cultivator, buying time for the tribesmen to escape, and he also took the opportunity to attack, trying to weaken the opponent's strength. Unfortunately, although the demon cultivator's cultivation was achieved with the help of external forces and opportunistic tricks, the golden elixir is the golden elixir. There was a huge gap between the two sides, like a chasm. Li Zhirui's attack could not hurt the other party at all, but made him more angry. The sky was filled with evil spirits gushing out of the demon cultivator's body, turning into a demon god with a green face and fangs. The huge palm slapped down, as if locking Li Zhirui, making him unable to move. Is it possible that I am going to die here? Li Zhirui was filled with reluctance. He struggled and roared, his mana boiling in his body, trying to break free. Unfortunately, he could not escape from the palm of the demon god. If he exerted a little more power, he would be trapped in the same place. The demon god's hand kept approaching. Li Zhirui could clearly see that death was approaching. He struggled and bled all over his body but did not stop. Die? All cultivators should die. Ho ha ho ha, the demon cultivator laughed crazily, as if he had no rationality at all. It's a close call. Fortunately, I caught up. A little emerald light appeared, blocking the huge arm, and a vine dragged Li Zhirui out of danger. The person who came was not the giant elder that Li Zhirui thought, but Li Zhirui himself. The closest giant cultivator to him was Li Zhirui, but he was also entangled by a giant demon cultivator, and he couldn't separate himself to save people, so he could only pass the news to others. Li Zhirui happened to see this news, so he flew over without stopping, and finally saved Li Zhirui at the critical moment. Look at the black karma lingering around you. I'm afraid you have sacrificed a lot of cultivators and mortals to break through the golden elixir. Li Zhirui's eyes were full of disgust, and he said, no wonder you lost your mind and became a beast that only knows how to kill. In other words, the magic way has a special way to avoid disasters. If it were any other cultivator, such a terrifying karma would have been killed by the thunder. While speaking, Li Zhirui just stretched out his hand and pointed, and the water spirit between heaven and earth quickly gathered into a whip, and suddenly whipped the demon god, and it turned into evil spirit and disappeared. When he turned into baby, he chose the law of purification. Although he could not use the power of the law with his current cultivation, he would naturally carry some purification power when casting spells, which was just the nemesis of this evil spirit. The water whip did not dissipate directly, but tied up the demon cultivator and strangled him to death. After solving all these problems, Li Zhirui looked at Li Zhirui, who was protected by the spiritual light and had fainted, and said, you have a firm mind and a spirit of sacrifice. It seems that you have grown up very well in these years. Good and bad are interdependent. After this disaster, you have successfully broken through the bottleneck of the golden elixir, saving several years of hard work. It's not bad. He looked very miserable. The blood oozing out of his body had completely dyed his clothes red, but his injuries were not serious. He would be able to recover in no time after a good rest. When taking Li Zhirui back, Li Zhirui happened to pass by the fairy city that Li Zhirui was in charge of. He did not leave in a hurry, but hide aside. If Li Zhirui accidentally let the demon cultivator escape, he could also take action in time to eliminate the trouble. However, after these years of hard training and exercise, it is not said how strong his strength is, but at least it is not comparable to an opportunistic demon cultivator. Seeing that Li Zhirui had successfully killed the demon cultivator, Li Zhirui did not show up, but quietly took Li Zhirui away, only sending him a message, telling him that he had rescued Li Zhirui, and he could go to help other clansmen, or go to a place where no one could solve the problem. A day later, Li Zhirui woke up from his coma. His mind was confused, and it took a long time before he was completely awake. Are you feeling better? Li Zhirui asked. Li Zhirui looked in the direction of the voice, and hurriedly stood up to greet him, but was stopped by Li Zhirui. Your injuries are not healed yet, so don't do these empty formalities. To reply to the ancestor, Zhirui is much better now. Thank you for your help that day. If Li Zhirui had not arrived in time, he would have been a corpse at this time. Don't worry about it. Li Zhirui shook his head and said, although you have suffered a disaster this time, you have also broken through the bottleneck. Now you should take good care of your injuries. After you recover, you can return to the family to retreat and break through. Chapter 562 Initiative. Damn the Li family, they actually sent so many cultivators to help Lingayan sect. Several giant and demon cultivators who were in charge of the demon-tainted scattered cultivators sent people to investigate the situation when the giant and fake cards of several evil cultivators were broken. Now they have returned with intelligence, which makes everyone angry. What should we do now? Judging from the posture of the Li family, I am afraid they will thoroughly plow Lingayan sect, another person said reluctantly. Once the Li family really does this, it means that all their efforts during this period will be in vain. Moreover, the ruthless means of the Li family to cut the grass and root out, and not let go of any demon cultivator, will also deter some scattered cultivators. I am afraid that in a short time, no scattered cultivator will be willing to join the demon cultivator camp. With our strength, we can't stop the Li family at all, so besides watching helplessly, they just summoned the surviving demon cultivators to leave temporarily and return after the Li family left. Li Zhirui, the Yuanying's engine, came in person to take charge. What's the difference between them rushing out and sending their giant into death? The other few people were silent. Although it was embarrassing, this was indeed a good way they could think of. There are many demon cultivators, but their strength is very average. There are only 3 or 4 giant and demon cultivators. After all, Even if the demon cultivators can be forced to grow, the time is too short. And Li Zhirui situation is the only one. After this experience, many clansmen have gained something, although they are not as surprised as Li Zhirui, and they only broke through a small realm, but it is also very good. And there will always be casualties in war. Even if more preparations are made, there will be variables. After cleaning up the demon cultivators in the local markets and immortal cities, Li Zhirui also led the clansmen to search the territory of Lingayan sect several times to ensure that all the demon cultivators in the territory were eliminated. Thank you for the great help of the seniors and fellow Taoists. We really can't repay you. Su Chang'e was very grateful and excited. Li Zhirui's reaction was very cold. He said, "Don't be careless. The demon cultivators have only been cleansed temporarily. It won't be long before the demon cultivators in the nearby areas will come in and continue to seduce the scattered cultivators, and we can't always help you. You still need to find a way yourself. The Li family is the main sect of Lingayan sect, not a bodyguard. It's enough to help once to show their concern for the vassal. The next time, it won't be free help." What the senior said is right. We will find a way. Su Chang'e hurriedly agreed. Li Zhirui said no more and signaled Li Chengshuo to drive the spirit ship away. "Uncle, the strength of the sect is so poor that it can't prevent the invasion of demon cultivators at all." After the Li family left, the sect couldn't wait to say, "Don't I know? But what can we do? The Li family is not a charity organization. Over-reliance on them will not benefit the development of the sect at all." Su Chang'e's face was full of bitterness. If the sect had not been besieged by demon cultivators, how could they have fallen into such a situation? Instead of thinking about these useless things, it is better to consider how to improve the strength of the disciples and cultivate more giant cultivators. It is easy to say, but if it is really that simple, there would not be so few giant cultivators. The demon cultivators who always pay attention to the Li family's movements found that they had left. That afternoon, many demon cultivators returned to the Lingayan sect's territory. Let's talk about the Li family's spiritual ship. After returning to Banyan Island, go back to rest first, and then comprehend the recent war. I hope you all gained something. After Li Zhirui finished speaking, he turned back to the cabin, so as not to make everyone present feel uncomfortable. "Zhirui, I heard that you survived a giant and demon cultivator and broke through the bottleneck. Is it true?" Among all the clan members, Li Zhirui was the most concerned. "It was just luck. If the ancestor hadn't arrived in time, I would have become a corpse long ago," Li Zhirui answered modestly. After getting his affirmative answer, all the foundation building clan members looked at him with envy. All they saw was Li Zhirui after his success. They could not imagine that Li Zhirui was powerless to fight back when facing the giant and demon cultivator. If he could choose, Li Zhirui would rather choose to retreat, practice, and break through steadily, rather than the thrilling and exciting life like now. Because if Li Zhirui came a little later, he would die. Li Zhirui did not accept this practice of handing his fate to others, even if the other party was Li Zhirui, the Yuanying's engine. Under the bombardment of all kinds of doubts from everyone, Li Zhirui was in great pain. It was like a year of suffering. In the torment, the spirit ship finally stopped at Banyan Island. But he did not expect that there were still people pestering Li Zhirui and unwilling to let him go. "Okay, you are still far from the giant, and there is no benefit. The most important thing is to practice well. After breaking through the giant, you will know everything you want to know." Li Chengshuo waved his hand and said, "Go back quickly, seize the time to feel it well, so as not to miss the opportunity." Everyone let Li Zhirui go and left. "Did you gain anything from this trip?" Zhang Fengwu, who had just come out of the quiet room, asked Li Chengshuo casually when she saw him in the courtyard. Li Chengshuo shook her head. She did not encounter any giant and demon cultivators this time. They were just some small fish that could be easily dealt with. Naturally, she did not gain anything. "Don't be anxious, take your time, polish your magic power well, and don't give up practicing visualization. These will be very helpful for your breakthrough in the future," Zhang Fengwu comforted. Yet, Li Chengshuo understood the truth, but he was inevitably a little depressed. "How is it? Have you made any progress here?" Li Zhirui, who heard the noise outside, ran out to join in the fun. Zhang Fengwu shook her head slightly when she heard the words. She deduced a formation from scratch, and also stipulated the proposition. In addition, it was the most difficult space. How could it be possible to succeed easily with all these difficulties added up? Even now, She didn't even have a clue. Li Zhirui was not very anxious about this matter. Just take your time. Even if she failed in the end, this process was also a very useful experience. Dad, Mom, I plan to go out for some training. Li Chengshen, who is usually not seen, seemed to be waiting for them today. A trace of curiosity flashed in Li Zhirui's eyes. What happened? Li Chengshen, who is obsessed with cultivating spirit beasts, actually took the initiative to mention going out for training. I want to go too, Li Chengshuo shouted at the side. Zhang Fengwu refused without thinking and said, Shenjie can go, but you can forget about it. You haven't even successfully refined your life magic weapon. What are you going out for? Li Chengshuo pouted. She knew it would be like this. Go if you want to, but be careful when you go out. Li Chengsheng also had experience in training, so Li Zhirui didn't say too much. As he said that, Li Zhirui took out a few bottles of third-level elixirs and handed them to Li Chengshen. Chapter 563 Treasure Hunt. The few bottles of elixirs given by Li Zhirui are not ordinary elixirs. They can be used to save lives at critical moments. There are elixirs that can instantly replenish mana, and there are also violent elixirs that can improve strength. These elixirs are very effective at specific times, but they also have significant side effects. They cannot be taken repeatedly one after another, which will damage the foundation. In addition to the elixirs, Zhang Fengwu got up and went to the quiet room to take out a set of third-level top-grade formations, and reminded, this is a set of attack formations. If you accidentally encounter a Yuanying cultivator, you can self-destruct the formation to buy time for yourself to escape. Do you remember what we just said? Li Zhirui said, if you really encounter a danger that you can't escape, just use the distraction jade slips directly, don't resist it. The distraction jade slips have been made, and he has endured the suffering, so why not choose them? Zhang Fengwu also thought about refining a few distraction jade slips, but was stopped by Li Zhirui because there was no need for this. Li Chengsheng and Li Chengshuo already had them in their hands. After she broke through the nascent soul stage, the one in her hand was no longer useful, and she had extra ones. Why should she endure the pain of being distracted? Faced with a deep love of his parents, Li Chengsheng was so moved that he was speechless. When I go out for training, don't forget to prepare these things for me, Li Chengshuo on the side reminded him hurriedly, ruining the whole atmosphere. Don't worry, everything is ready. Li Zhirui couldn't help but smile. Okay, it's getting late, let's go. After returning to the room, Li Zhirui immediately noticed that Zhang Fengwu was a little depressed, so he asked, what's wrong? I feel that the two children are growing up too fast. I haven't been with them well. They have become independent and don't need us anymore. Li Zhirui understood that Zhang Fengwu felt a little sorry for the two children. He didn't do well during their growth. You have done very well, Li Zhirui affirmed her efforts and said with a smile, if even you think so, then I am even more incompetent. Looking back now, he is indeed not a competent father, because when they were growing up, Li Zhirui was in the critical period of breaking through the nascent soul, and he did not have two children in his heart. Zhang Fengwu was also sentimental for a while, and after being persuaded by Li Zhirui, he quickly turned the page. It's been a long time since we practiced dual cultivation. The moonlight is just right today. Before Zhang Fengwu broke through the nascent soul, due to the large difference in their realms, it was not suitable for the harmony of yin and yang. After she broke through, many things happened and there was no free time. It was not until tonight that the two of them felt the joy of dual cultivation again. There was no conversation all night. The next morning, Li Chengsheng was surrounded by 3 spirit birds. From a distance, they looked like 3 little suns. They walked step by step to the outside of the clan land, and finally drove the spirit ship into the air and left Banyan Island. He came out of the mountain this time with a very clear purpose. That is to find the sun spirit object and help Chao Yangwu improve the bloodline grade. Although he is only in the early stage of Jinden now, and it is still a long way from Yuanying, some things should be prepared in advance to avoid wasting more time in the future. The opportunity for Li Chengsheng to go out of the mountain was that he clearly saw a certain place when he was calculating the solar spirit a few days ago. In order to get this spirit, although he didn't know the specific location, he didn't hesitate at all and decided to go out to find it and try his best to get it. Shenjie has gone far, let's go back, Li Zhirui said. Since Li Chengsheng wanted to leave quietly, they just paid attention quietly and didn't show up. Let's go. Zhang Fengwu retracted his distant gaze and said with a somewhat lonely expression. Mortals say that mothers worry about their children when they are thousands of miles away, and the same is true for cultivators. Li Shengsheng's going out for training stimulated Li Changshuo. She is now working several times harder than before, and spends a lot of time on refining spirits. She wants to refine her lifelong magic weapon as soon as possible and go out for training. However, Li Changshuo was a little greedy at first, and wanted to use the two fourth-level spiritual objects given to her by Li Zhirui and Zhang Fengwu as the foundation of her life magic weapon. Not to mention that she also wanted to refine her life magic weapon into a set of 24 bright moon beads, which greatly increased the difficulty, so the progress was quite slow. Li Zhirui was happy to see this happen, just in time to polish her impatient temper. Facing Li Changshuo's complaints and help, Li Zhirui shook his head and said, "You want to refine your life magic weapon as soon as possible, but now there are only two ways to go." Seeing that his old father really had a way, Li Changshuo hurriedly asked, "Dad, please tell me, first, give up one of the fourth-level spiritual objects, and melt it after the life magic weapon is refined." Li Zhirui glanced at her and saw that she was reluctant. "What's the second solution? Refine your own magic weapon instead. Don't think about refining a set of magic weapons. You're not a weapon refiner, and a set of magic weapons is too difficult for you." Li Changshuo was even more unhappy when he heard this. These 24 bright moon beads were a plan she had come up with great difficulty. She said, "Didn't you refine a set of your own magic weapons at the beginning? What kind of set of magic weapons is mine?" "It's just pieced together." Li Zhirui's own magic weapon kindling is a bamboo forest carried by an auspicious cloud. The auspicious cloud and the bamboo forest are different magic weapons. There is no connection between them, but they are matched together by him. It's a way of taking shortcuts. Li Changshuo was speechless. "Since you don't want to give up, then refine it slowly. There's no need to rush, then I'll think of another way." After that, Li Changshuo left in a hurry. This girl, when did she become so greedy? Li Zhirui shook his head. He didn't like her idea of not wanting to reduce the power and specifications of her life magic weapon, but also wanting to refine it as soon as possible. As for what she said about thinking of a way, Li Zhirui could guess without thinking that she must have gone to find Li Chengru. After all, he had the highest attainments in refining in the family. "Brother Chengru, are you free? I have something to ask you." Li Chengru, who was learning the prohibition of magic weapons, opened his eyes immediately after hearing the voice, and a trace of confusion appeared on his face. Although they were of the same generation, they were too far apart in age and did not have much communication. Why did they suddenly come to the door? However, since the people were here, Li Chengru could not close the door and see them, and he could roughly guess what the reason was. After a little cleaning, he welcomed the people in. "But what problems did you encounter when refining your own magic weapon? Was there some restriction that you didn't understand, or something else?" Li Changshuo was not polite and immediately told him the problem he encountered. Then he looked at Li Chengru with expectation, hoping that he could give a good suggestion. Chapter 564 Difficulties. Li Changshuo was speechless for a moment. After organizing his words for a long time, he said awkwardly, "I am not very knowledgeable and can't think of any good solution. This idea of having both is really difficult to achieve. Why don't you ask Uncle Jiu? He might have a good idea." He wanted to tell Li Changshuo directly not to ask too much, but considering that the two were not familiar with each other, he swallowed his words in the end. "Father can't do anything?" Li Changshuo looked worried and sighed helplessly. Could it be that she really had to give up something? "Thank you, Brother Changshuo, for helping me solve my doubts. I won't bother you any more." After returning to the cave, Li Changshuo locked himself in the room and thought about it seriously. In the end, he decided to continue to persevere. At worst, he could go out for training later. Anyway, he could go out sooner or later, but his life magic weapon was fixed from the beginning. No matter how many spiritual objects were integrated in the future, it would only improve the grade and could not change the style. I hope that after this incident, her impatient temper can be slightly changed. A few days later, Li Zhirui noticed Li Changshuo's situation and said with relief. Then, he stopped paying attention to her and focused on cultivating the fourth-level fenki grass. Li Zhirui accumulated millions of spirit stones for this matter. It can be said that he was really making a big gamble. First, he selected the best quality batch from the third-level fenki grass spirit seeds, planted them in an empty spirit field in the space, and then placed the spirit stones near the spirit seeds. Under some great power in the space, the rich spiritual energy in the spirit stones was extracted, and the spirit seeds sprouted and grew. From a small spirit seed to a bright red third-level funky grass, it only took a quarter of an hour. The whole growth process was like someone pressing a button 100 times faster. Unfortunately, this batch of spirit seeds did not grow fourth-level funky grass. Li Zhirui had expected this result, so he was not very disappointed. He harvested the spirit seeds calmly and continued the first step. Failure. Failure. Failure again. In the end, Li Zhirui didn't know how many times he had failed. He only knew that the spirit stones he had accumulated for so many years were almost exhausted. The further he went, the more indifferent he looked. He overestimated his luck and underestimated the difficulty of the spirit objects breaking through the shackles. Li Zhirui could already foresee the final result, unless a miracle happened. But unfortunately, there was no miracle. The last batch of spirit stones were used up, and there was no sign of the fourth-level funky grass. It seems that I have to prepare more spirit stones next time. Li Zhirui looked at the withered funky grass in front of him, sighed softly, and scattered all the spirit seeds on the land as if to vent, and then flashed out of the space. There was no progress on the fourth-level funky grass. Li Zhirui went to see the cultivation progress of Daking, Zhaoking, Hugan and Xiaokeng, and found that except for Xiaokeng's realm, which was slightly loose and had the hope of breaking through the golden elixir, the others were still the same as before, without any change. Brother Jiu, is it really feasible to accumulate mana to nourish high-level blood and promote blood evolution? Zhaoking has begun to doubt this method. Not only him, but even Daking, who has always been calm, became anxious after no progress. Li Zhirui smiled bitterly and shook his head, saying, I also saw it in an ancient book at the beginning, and there is no way to guarantee whether it is feasible. Don't worry, you have a long life, and I can't break through to the spirit transformation in a short time. Besides, there is nothing wrong with accumulating mana. After the blood breaks through, you can quickly reach the fourth level, Li Zhirui promised. If it really doesn't work, we will go to the central region to look for opportunities. We will always find a way for you to continue to improve yourself. The central region has rich spiritual energy, and it is easier to find natural treasures than other regions. Li Zhirui now thinks that he is quite strong. Even in the central region, it is unlikely to encounter a situation where he will die. What is there to be afraid of? Let's set a deadline. Xiaoqing couldn't bear it anymore and said, how about 30 years? If there is no progress in 50 years, go to the central region to look for opportunities. Li Zhirui thought that this time period was just right. 30 years is not too long, but not too short. Adding the time of cultivation before, if there is no effect, it should be impossible. Okay, then it's settled. In the following time, Li Zhirui, in addition to making pills to earn spirit stones, was helping Zhang Fengwu to deduce the formation to open up the spiritual realm. Because he didn't understand the formation, he was completely a tool man in this process, only responsible for inputting mana and trying to see if the formation could be successfully activated. During this period, Zhang Fengwu worked hard to deduce the initial version of the formation. But every time it was activated, various problems would arise. Through continuous trial and error, Zhang Fengwu slowly modified it, and finally spent several years to finally launch a formation without problems. But a new problem appeared. After replacing the eye of the formation with multiple black stones, the formation could not be activated at all. Deducing the formation is a very exhausting process. Li Zhirui himself felt that deducing the pill formula was already very difficult, but the difficulty of the formation was several times higher. After a few years, Li Zhirui felt that Zhang Fengwu had become much more haggard, which made people feel distressed. Take a rest for a while. Zhang Fengwu wanted to continue to prevaricate, but Li Zhirui forcibly carried him out of the quiet room and said, don't worry, such a formation is not difficult. If you work hard like this, it will delay the progress. He already regretted proposing the idea of using black stone to open up the spiritual realm. If he hadn't mentioned it, Zhang Fengwu would not have plunged into this bottomless abyss. But Li Zhirui didn't want to listen to her reasons anymore, and directly cast a sleeping spell on Zhang Fengwu. With the help of the soul-stirring incense that had been lit, Zhang Fengwu, who was exhausted, soon fell asleep. Have a good sleep. In the past few years, many things have happened in the family. Not long ago, Li Chengshuo refined the 24 Mingyu pearls, his life-saving magic weapon. After getting several life-saving spiritual objects from Li Zhirui and Zhang Fengwu, he couldn't wait to go out for training. A year ago, Li Zhirui successfully broke through, and without the help of Xian King Dan and Jinzi Dan, he successfully survived the Thunder Tribulation and formed a golden elixir. He was also a proud person. After consolidating his realm and coming out of seclusion, he borrowed a large amount of contribution points from Li Zhirui and exchanged a 4th-level spiritual object Zunfeng Beast Golden Pill from his family. He planned to use the Golden Pill as the basis to refine a Zunfeng Gourd. Now, he is refining spiritual objects in the cave, working hard to refine his life-saving magic weapon. Chapter 565 Tempering. Xiao Kang, who had accumulated so much energy over the years, finally encountered the giant Thunder Tribulation. Faced with the astonishing power of the Tribulation Thunder, Xiao Kang did not give in. He looked up to the sky and roared, then rushed forward directly. Li Zhirui looked very calm on the surface, but he was still quite nervous in his heart. Although he knew that many monsters with extraordinary bloodlines were used to using their bodies to resist the tribulation in order to achieve the purpose of tempering their bodies. But when he really saw this scene happen with his own eyes, he couldn't help but feel a little uneasy, even though he knew that Xiao Kang's physical strength, under the polishing of huge mana, was no worse than that of a giant cultivator, and was even a little stronger. The thunder roared and smashed, completely wrapping Xiao Kang's body. He didn't cast any spells, but used his body to resist and consume the power of the thunder. Uncle Jiu, is this too dangerous? Li Changru was terrified and asked in a trance. Li Zhirui shook his head and smiled. Don't worry, Xiao Kang has a strong body. It's just a few thunderbolts that can't do anything to him. That's amazing. If I break through the nascent soul one day, I will definitely bathe my body in thunderbolts. Li Chengwu, who was standing by, heard this and showed a touch of longing and expectation in his eyes. You fool, Li Chengru slapped him and said unhappily, you are a fake body cultivator, and you still want to bathe in thunderbolts. If you want to die, don't use such a stupid method. Unless you are a gifted person, it is difficult for a cultivator's body to compare with the monsters of the same realm. Even if you are a physical cultivator, you can only catch up. Li Chengwu is indeed keen on training his body and calls himself a physical cultivator, but in fact his main practice is still the Wanling Sutra, but he uses some physical cultivation methods to polish his body. Li Zhirui shook his head and turned his attention to Xiao Kang, who is crossing the tribulation. The first thunderbolt was almost absorbed by him. Seeing his energetic appearance, Li Zhirui felt much more at ease. Boom boom. It seemed that Xiao Kang's actions angered the Thunder Tribulation. Without giving any time, the second Thunder Tribulation struck directly, and the power suddenly became much stronger. But Xiao Kang was not afraid, and stood proudly with his head held high, like an emperor looking down on everything in the world, and once again took the initiative to rush into the Thunder Tribulation. Crackling, a series of explosions sounded one after another, trying to blow up Xiao Kang's dragon scales, but in the end they all became nutrients to strengthen him. And his roar, from pain at the beginning, was filled with joy and happiness at the end. The third heart demon tribulation was not a problem for Xiao Kang, who had a simple mind and had not been exposed to too many complicated affairs. He easily broke free from the illusion. Originally, the giant thunder tribulation ended here, but Xiao Kang himself was not satisfied and even activated the transformation thunder tribulation. This thunderbolt looks ordinary in power, but for the monster beast, it is a physical and spiritual training. The thunderbolt travels through every inch of flesh and blood, forcibly changing their appearance. The stronger the flesh, the more intense the pain. Only by enduring it can it transform into an acquired Taoist body. After the thunderbolt dissipated, Xiao Kang's original heroic and high-spirited appearance suddenly became listless, but also much more mature. The light green dragon scales now turned emerald green, and the dragon horns began to fork, as if the bloodline took a small step towards becoming a real dragon. Under the cover of the spiritual light of creation and the spiritual energy of the tribulation, the golden elixir in Xiao Kang's body quickly condensed, and it looked larger than ordinary spirit beasts. At the same time, the body size was constantly shrinking and turned into a human body. After the spiritual light dissipated, Xiao Kang's appearance was also exposed in front of everyone, with handsome eyebrows and bright eyes, and a straight nose like a peak. Although he was a little young, he had an imperial demeanor when he raised his hands and feet. However, as a spirit beast, Xiao Kang is more accustomed to seeing people in the form of a dragon, so he transformed himself into a real dragon. but the pair of dragon horns on his head fell off, and now there are only 2 small bags. After a spirit beast passes the giant in calamity, something will fall from its body, such as Deking's tortoise shell and Zhao King's tail feathers. This is the best material for spirit beasts to refine their own life magic weapons. Go back and consolidate your realm. Xiao Kang nodded and escaped into the quiet room where Li Zhirui practiced. When he comes out of retreat, he will leave like Deking and Zhao King, and go to the Spirit Beast mountain range to open up a cave and live alone. Doing so is to give spirit beasts their own independent space, and also to facilitate them to reproduce offspring, expand the family's spirit beast race, and improve the spirit beast grade, the mountain gate of a certain giant force. The Li family is developing faster and faster, and another giant has been born. There was a hint of unwillingness in his words that he was unwilling to be inferior to others. As the Li family grows stronger, they no longer need to hide their tribulations. Instead, showing their strength is the most important thing. What? Whether the Li family is strong or not, what does it have to do with us? Just be a vassal and slowly improve your strength. Don't think about those messy things, another elder said. After all, we are not the Li family. It is impossible for us to grow at a miraculous speed. That's what you said. With a complicated sigh, several people left one after another. What happened in front? Why are all the cultivators rushing there? Li Zhirui, who was just returning from the wilderness, saw the spiritual light flying in front of her, and she couldn't help but feel a little curious. However, considering that her own condition was not very good, she did not act immediately. After leaving Wangxin Island for many years, Li Zhirui has been training in the chaotic broken star state. In addition to monsters and demon cultivators, there are also a large number of cultivators who died in her hands. Compared with the first 2, the proportion of cultivators is even greater. However, this is a very normal situation in Broken Star State. Because the cultivators in Broken Star State have become very aggressive due to environmental problems, which is what people often say, they have no morals. I heard that a secret realm has appeared in the world. And I don't know if you have a chance to enter it. Just at this time, 2 foundation building cultivators flew past Li Zhirui, and their words drifted into her ears. Secret realm. Li Zhirui's eyes lit up. Why is Broken Star State so dangerous? But there are still a large number of cultivators who are unwilling to leave. In addition to the rich spiritual energy and vast land, the most important thing is that every time a meteor shower breaks out, it is possible to pry open the boundary membrane and bring out a secret realm. Compared with other areas, the probability of a secret realm appearing in Broken Star State is much higher. Li Zhirui has been in Broken Star State for so many years, and has heard about the news of secret realms several times, but unfortunately, either the distance is too far or the grade is limited. Until now, she has never been in. This time, she actually encountered a secret realm appearing at such a close distance. I don't know the grade of this secret realm. If it is lower than the 3rd grade secret realm, it will be a false alarm. Having said that, Li Zhirui still flew over immediately. Chapter 566 Spiritual Planting. Looking at the scale and movement of the secret realm, it is definitely not lower than the 3rd level. A cultivator looked at the secret realm that was slowly emerging not far away and asserted confidently. Because the secret realms in Broken Star State appear frequently, local cultivators have summed up a set of observation methods with a high accuracy rate based on past experience. If the cultivators have a family background, the judgment rate will be more accurate. The 3rd level secret realm is good, but it is also dangerous, a foundation building cultivator said worriedly. The higher the grade of the secret realm, the richer the spiritual objects produced in it are, and the better the quality, but the more dangerous it is. Not only is there danger inside the secret realm, but there are also high-level cultivators from the outside world who enter. On the road to seeking the Tao, if you don't fight for it, are you willing to stop here? Said a companion on the side. A giant's henron is coming. As soon as this was said, the scene was silent. At the same time, all the foundation building cultivators retreated tacitly, and the distance between them also narrowed a little, and there was a vague feeling of uniting to fight against the upcoming giant cultivator. This is one of the few ways for low-level cultivators to fight for their rights. Even if there were conflicts between them before, they must temporarily put aside their hatred and unite. Hundreds of foundation building cultivators gathered together, and even the golden elixir could not ignore their power. Of course, this great alliance is limited to the short period of time before entering the secret realm. Once inside, most of them are small groups of acquaintances. Li Zhirui was one of the latecomers to the golden elixir, so she could clearly see a large number of foundation-building cultivators who were huddled together for warmth and shared the same hatred. Although she had seen it several times before, she was still shocked when she saw it again. Li Zhirui thought she was well informed, but she had never seen such a tacit understanding between low-level cultivators, which gave her an illusion that it was not the same world as other places. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it came to the day when the secret realm was opened. It really is a third-level secret realm. When Li Zhirui saw the first golden elixir cultivator enter, her eyes suddenly lit up, and she flew on her sword without hesitation and entered the secret realm before the first batch. Roar! It was unknown whether Li Zhirui was lucky or not. There was a precious third-level white jade fruit tree at the place where she appeared. This was one of the few spiritual objects that could dissolve impurities in the body, and it was the most cost-effective one. Unlike other spiritual objects, the grade was too high and could not be mass-produced. But before Li Zhirui could be happy for too long, the guardian monster came back from hunting. A giant anaconda with black scales, a waist of 2 or 3 feet thick, and a length of dozens of feet, opened its bloody mouth with a strong stench and pounced on Li Zhirui. The seemingly bulky body was extremely agile when it moved, like a black lightning, and it pounced in front of her in an instant. Cut! Li Zhirui was not afraid at all. She summoned her life sword and raised her hand to slash out with an extremely sharp sword energy. The sword light was sharp. Before it got close, the giant anaconda felt a pain, forcing it to close its mouth, and the offensive was instantly broken. Clang! The sword energy slashed the giant anaconda's head, but there was no skin or flesh torn or bloody seen. Instead, there was a sound of metal and stone colliding. Is the head so hard? Li Zhirui's eyes flashed with surprise. She could see that the giant anaconda's body was tempered to be very strong, but she didn't expect that even the fragile head was tempered like gold and stone. But on second thought, it felt normal, because this secret realm was only level 3, and was restricted by the law, and the monster beasts could not break through. But if they wanted to survive well and not be regarded as prey by other monster beasts, they could only start from other aspects. If it was in the outside world, this giant anaconda might have survived the thunder tribulation and its bloodline evolved into a dragon. What a pity, Li Zhirui sighed. Worried about hurting the white jade fruit tree, she took the initiative to move the battlefield outward and broke out into a fierce battle with the giant anaconda. The giant anaconda's body was extremely hard, and it was also poisonous. At first, Li Zhirui was at a loss, but after adapting, she gradually gained the upper hand. Hiss! The giant anaconda roared, as if it was going to fight Li Zhirui to the death, and she was also ready. The magic power in her body quickly gathered, and the magic sword in her hand trembled slightly, making a buzzing sound. But the result was jaw-dropping. The giant anaconda did not fight Li Zhirui to the death, but its huge body sank directly into the ground and disappeared without a trace in an instant. Some kind of escaping magic? Or a trick? Li Zhirui confirmed again and again that the giant anaconda had left, and then slowly withdrew her attack. Then she returned to the white jade fruit tree. There was not a single ripe white jade fruit on the lush spiritual plant. It seemed that all of them were eaten by the giant anaconda. Li Zhirui was just a moment of nostalgia, and then began to cast the method of gathering spirits and gathering life on the spirit tree. As the spells were cast one after another, the vitality and aura of the spirit tree were all guided to the main root, and then the main root was sealed with the seal of the spirit to ensure that the aura and vitality would not leak out at all. This is the common method used by most cultivators to collect some precious spiritual plants when they encounter them outside. After all, not all cultivators have a huge space like Li Zhirui to directly transplant huge spiritual plants. They only need to preserve the main root and plant it later. After a few years, they can get a spiritual plant that grows and can bear fruit. It seems that this secret realm is rich in spiritual resources, otherwise, she would not have obtained a precious third-level spiritual plant as soon as she came in. This completely aroused Li Zhirui's interest. In her eyes, these are all shining spiritual stones. So after a short rest, she began to explore outside. At the beginning, because she was still in the territory of the giant anaconda, Li Zhirui did not encounter any danger. After all, there is no room for 2 tigers in one mountain. The territory of the giant anaconda cannot accommodate a second monster of equal strength, but she harvested a lot of spiritual objects. Although not as precious as the white jade fruit tree, it is also a very good harvest. You know, Among the many cultivators who entered the secret realm, it is not necessarily possible to harvest more spiritual objects than Li Zhirui in such a short time. Hand over that golden mushroom, and I will spare your life. Otherwise, get on the road. When exploring other places in the secret realm, it is inevitable to encounter some cultivators. Among them, the foundation-building cultivators will choose other directions when they see her from a distance. The giant cultivator did not avoid it, but was also very vigilant and kept a safe distance. The reason why he did not take action directly was mainly because he had just entered the secret realm for a few days and had obtained limited spiritual objects. There was no need to go to great lengths at this time to fight to the death with a cultivator of the same realm. If both sides were injured by accident, they would still be in the secret realm for many days to come. It is easy to put oneself in a dangerous situation. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 567 Fox. But she didn't expect that she would get close to a battlefield this time. Several foundation-building monks surrounded an embarrassed monk, and that person had a stubborn face, his eyes looking around, as if looking for a chance to escape. Li Zhirui did not continue to approach, but planned to take a detour to avoid him. It was not that she was afraid of these foundation-building monks, but she didn't want to get involved in this kind of trouble that would not benefit her. But unexpectedly, she was discovered by the foundation-building monk. "Please save me, Senior. I know the whereabouts of a treasure infant fruit," he shouted loudly with all his magic power. He knew that the spiritual object in his hand might not be able to impress a giant's henron, but the treasure infant fruit was definitely a spiritual object that any giant would be moved by. The treasure infant fruit, a 4th-level spiritual object, can allow the monk's giant to temporarily become a Yuanying, experience and become familiar with the power of the Yuanying realm. It seems that the ability is quite tasteless, but in fact, the process of giant changing into Yuanying is a kind of realm transition. If you can understand something from it, it will be very helpful for your own breakthrough. So when Li Zhirui heard the 3 words Baoying fruit, he immediately turned around and ran towards him, even sending his magic sword to him in advance to prevent him from being killed by other cultivators. "I hope you didn't lie to me, otherwise, your fate will be more terrible than death." But in the blink of an eye, Li Zhirui came to his side and looked down at him. The man bowed and said earnestly, "Junior dare not lie, but there is a pair of 3rd-level perfect monsters guarding near the spiritual medicine. If not for this, he would not be chased and killed by this group of people so embarrassed." Gulu, the cultivators surrounding him felt the pressure brought to them by the giant cultivator and swallowed their saliva involuntarily. Some smart cultivators hurriedly saluted Li Zhirui and fled to the distance at the fastest speed, while the stupid people dared to negotiate with Li Zhirui. Li Zhirui didn't care about the people who escaped. After all, she just wanted to save his life. As for the people who stayed there and coveted the golden flower, she just raised her hand and slashed at them. The sword energy shot out, and they were dead before they could even react. "Let's go, take me to the place you said." Li Zhirui put away the spoils and burned the bodies, and said indifferently, "Senior, please follow me. It's not far from here." The man lowered his head to hide the horror on his face, but his slightly trembling voice still betrayed him. Li Zhirui looked at him with interest. His face was horrified, but his eyes were calm as water. He seemed to be a person with a background, but his cultivation was not yet good enough and there were too many flaws. "Just point me in a direction." The speed of the foundation-building flight was too slow, not to mention that he was injured, so the speed was even slower. Li Zhirui didn't want to waste time with him. "Yes. Keep flying northeast. After about an hour, you will see a low mountain with sparse vegetation. The treasure infant fruit is in the mountain." Li Zhirui grabbed the man with his magical hand and drove the spirit boat to fly as he said. In less than an hour, a mountain came into view. "Is this the mountain you are talking about?" Li Zhirui looked at the mountain peak, and a trace of solemnity flashed across her brows. Even though she hadn't approached yet, she could vaguely feel 2 strong auras in the mountain. "They should be the 2 perfect 3rd-level monsters," he said. "Yes, it's here. I remember it very clearly." After saying that, he looked at Li Zhirui carefully and said, "Senior, I have brought you to the destination. Can we go now?" "Yes." Li Zhirui didn't look back. She was a little curious about how this man escaped from the mouths of two monsters that could make her feel threatened. And along the way, Li Zhirui secretly arranged a lot of backup plans for him. If this was a trap, then he would definitely die. Thank you, Senior. I wish you all the best. After saying that, he fled as fast as he could, as if he was afraid that Li Zhirui would regret it. With the strength of those two monsters, I wonder if this senior can handle them. Should I hide aside and wait for an opportunity? See if I can be the winner. No, Master has given me few life-saving methods. There is no need to waste them on things that I can't use. Wish that senior good luck. Soon, he hid in a hidden place, and then took out a bright gem that was not stained with dust, and held it in his mouth. Several warm currents emerged from the inside of the gem and flowed to various parts of the body. The body cleansing and dirt removing gem, in addition to healing, can also dissolve toxins, alien magic power, etc. in the body. It is an extremely good spiritual object. Huh? Interesting. It actually dissolves the magic power I left in his body. Li Zhirui sensed that several of the magic powers disappeared, and a hint of curiosity flashed in her eyes. If the treasure infant fruit was not more important, she would have wanted to follow the mark left on his clothes to find him. After calming down, Li Zhirui concealed her aura and walked towards the treasure infant fruit carefully. Not long after, she saw a lotus-shaped spiritual medicine with a 3-inch man on it. And this was the treasure infant fruit she was looking for. Not far from the spiritual medicine, there was a white fox with 3 fluffy tails lying down, closing its eyes and pretending to sleep. This fox actually has the blood of the 9-tailed celestial fox. Li Zhirui's face became more serious again. The 9-tailed celestial fox is one of the top monsters, not much worse than the dragon, phoenix, unicorn and other mythical beasts. And the other party can grow 3 tails in the secret realm, and the blood in his body must be very rich, at least not lower than the 4th grade. By Li, it's my turn to guard the spiritual medicine, you go and rest. Just when Li Zhirui was hesitant and considering whether to take action, another perfect 3rd-level monster came. It was also a celestial fox with 3 tails. But the fur was as black as ink. Okay, Li reminded, you must take good care of the elixir. Many humans have come here. If it is stolen by someone by accident, I will never let you go. Don't worry. Li nodded and turned to leave. But the direction it was heading towards was actually the place where Li Zhirui was hiding. When it was closest, the man and the demon were less than 10 feet apart. Did it find me? Or didn't it find me? Li Zhirui didn't dare to use her magic power, but her soul was tense to the limit. If there was any problem, she could react immediately. Li Zhirui didn't breathe a sigh of relief until Li walked away. But the more Li Zhirui thought about it, the more she felt something was wrong. The place where she was hiding didn't have a path that she had walked for many years. The other party made a completely sudden decision. Exposed, Li Zhirui thought to herself that it was not good, and she didn't care about hiding herself. She immediately soared into the sky and wanted to fly out of the mountain first. Chapter 568 Transaction. Hey, just as Li Zhirui was about to leave, a charming laugh suddenly resounded throughout the forest. Since you are here, why are you in such a hurry to leave? In fact, they had discovered Li Zhirui as soon as she stepped into the mountain, but they had been hiding and not making any move. A ray of emerald green light fell from the sky following the voice, just covering Li Zhirui's head. Break! The natal magic sword floated in the air, and slashed with Li Zhirui's mind. A dazzling sword energy burst out instantly, and the sword intent became evil, with a momentum of destroying the world and breaking through the clouds, slashing at the obstacles in front of it. Zhuanmo, don't do it. Li's face changed slightly. She didn't expect that the person who came was actually a sharp sword cultivator, and she shouted in a hurry. Ahem, Zhuanmo got up from the ground, but it seemed to be injured, and its reaction was a little slow, and it didn't dare to cast 2 powerful spells. Li Zhirui noticed this keenly, put his 2 fingers together, held his breath, and poured his sword intent into his fingertips, and slashed at Zhuanmo fiercely. Damn it! Li saw this scene, and did not bother to stop Li Zhirui, and hurriedly turned around to block this sword intent. Bang! After a burst of dust, Li Zhirui had already flown into the sky, carefully guarding against the 2 foxes below. From this point, it can be seen that she is unwilling to give up the Bailang fruit. Although it is very difficult to snatch the Bailang fruit from the hands of 2 3rd-level perfect monsters, there is still a chance. What's more, the fox named Zhuanmo was also seriously injured. This injury should be caused by the foundation-building cultivator, right? After all, according to what he said, he left this place for only half a day. In such a short time, there should not be another cultivator coming here. It seems that the background of that person is extraordinary, Li Zhirui thought to himself. Being able to severely injure a perfect third-order three-tailed celestial fox, he must have some life-saving means bestowed by the Yuanying True Lord, such as the divination jade slip. This can also explain why he, a small foundation-building cultivator, could escape from two third-order monsters. As a giant cultivator, you want this treasure infant fruit, right? After Bai Li confirmed that Zhuan Mo's injury had not worsened, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief and looked up at Li Zhirui. Li Zhirui's mind was racing. Was the other party planning to shake hands and make peace? He asked with an unchanged expression. Then what are your conditions? Bai Li blurted out. Take Zhuan Mo and I out of this secret realm. The monster race has blood inheritance, especially the more noble the blood, the more and more comprehensive the inherited memory. So Li Zhirui was not surprised that the other party knew about the secret realm and its various disadvantages. Didn't a foundation-building cultivator come here before me? Why didn't you tell him about this? Bai Li said calmly. At first, we wanted to control him directly and let him take us away, but we didn't expect that he had the means left by the nascent soul cultivator, which directly led to the nascent soul's split spirit. Needless to say, the rest is self-evident. And she called Zhuan Mo to take action before because she believed his lie that he was not injured. If she knew that his injury was quite serious, Bai Li would never call him. I don't believe you. Li Zhirui understood the plan of Bai Li and the two demons. After all, in their eyes, the foundation-building cultivators were not qualified to negotiate with him at all. But it did not prevent him from using this as an excuse to make the subsequent negotiations more beneficial to himself. You and I can swear a Taoist oath and a heart demon oath to ensure the safety of both parties and increase mutual trust. Bai Li had already thought of what he wanted to say. Li Zhirui raised her eyebrows slightly. The other party had already thought about the peace talks. I can promise you two, but one treasure infant fruit is not enough. These two are definitely the most powerful monsters in the secret realm, and they must know the location of many precious spiritual objects. Since there is a chance to get more good things, Li Zhirui will naturally not let it go. You are too greedy. Don't think I don't know the use of the treasure infant fruit, Bai Li said with some dissatisfaction. Li Zhirui smiled and said nothing. Now she's in an advantageous position. They are asking her for help, so of course she has the final say. Okay. I will find you another fourth-level spiritual object. Bai Li had no choice but to compromise. Li Zhirui smiled and said, then it's a deal. I will come back to find you after the secret realm portal is opened. After that, before they could react, he turned into a sword light and disappeared into the sky. Bai Li, can this person be trusted? Zhuan Mo asked weakly. I don't know, let's try. Even though the sky fox has always lived a long life, it has been trapped in the secret realm for 1,000 or 2,000 years, and it has reached the last stage. You were injured. Why didn't you tell me about such an important thing? Bai Li questioned. I was afraid that you would worry. I didn't expect that another cultivator would come in such a short time, and he was a sword cultivator with amazing combat power. Don't do it again. Otherwise, I won't talk to you anymore, okay? There will definitely not be a next time, Zhuan Mo promised hurriedly. Li Zhirui didn't leave the mountain too far away, and found a secluded place to hide. Because she only needed to successfully obtain the treasure infant fruit next. Other spiritual objects, no matter how precious, unless they could help break through the nascent soul, otherwise, she didn't plan to leave here before the portal was opened. One day, Uncle Jiu, Zhuanfa Pavilion sent an invitation. Li Zufang suddenly came to visit, and it didn't sound like it was something important. But when Li Zhirui took the invitation and looked at it, he immediately changed his previous thoughts. This was not an unimportant matter. If it was really as described by Zhuanfa Pavilion, it would probably shock the entire Eastern region cultivation world. Zhuanfa Pavilion has lost a lot of market share to Nanya Chamber of Commerce. Do you want to use this method to take back the lost market? It should be. Otherwise there would not be such a grand auction. The invitation said that Zhuanfa Pavilion will hold a 30-day auction in Zhuanfazhao on the first day of next year, with a total of tens of thousands of auction items. All of them are treasures. The invitation sent to the Li family wrote about the 4th-level spirit seeds, Yuanying realm exercises, various magical powers, and various giant realm cultivation techniques. and the finale auction items are marked with a total of 10 items. Among these 10 items, the only one announced is the lowest ranked treasure, but even so, it is a 5th level spiritual object. It is conceivable that the treasures ranked in front of it are all precious treasures. There is still more than half a year before the auction. During this time, the family must work hard to earn a lot of spirit stones. Li Zhirui looked at Li Zhifeng and said, "You will have to work hard in the next period of time." Chapter 569 Proposal. How to buy high-level spiritual objects with spiritual stones. It cannot be said that there is only one way, but large-scale auctions are indeed one of the few ways. Although the final price may exceed the value of the spiritual object itself, it is not a luxury to buy high-level spiritual objects with spiritual stones. In the next period of time, the exchange rate between spiritual stones of different levels may rise again. After all, the number of low-grade spiritual stones is huge and needs to occupy a lot of space. I understand, Li Zhifeng nodded and said, "I will definitely earn more spiritual stones back." From this day on, Li Zhirui devoted a lot of time to refining pills. The most refined he made was not the 4th level treasure pill, but the 3rd level spiritual pill. Although the price of the treasure pill is not cheap, the demand is not high. If it is sold to Xuanfa Pavilion or Nanai Chamber of Commerce, it cannot be sold at the market price. In addition, the difficulty of refining is relatively large. After all, the profit is not as fast as refining the 3rd level spiritual pill. At least the 3rd level spiritual pill has no shortage of market and can be sold directly at the market price without going through the middle of the Chamber of Commerce. And each clan member is also using his own strength to contribute to the family. Although it is very hard, no one complains or is dissatisfied. After all, their efforts are rewarded accordingly, which is the contribution value equivalent to the spirit stone used by the Li family. Many clansmen have gained a lot of contribution value through this event, either for themselves or for their descendants, and have accumulated some foundation. Xuanfa Pavilion is about to hold such a grand auction, so it is naturally impossible to tell only the Li family, and it has made great efforts in publicity. Not to mention that it has reached the point where everyone in the East region knows about it, but at least 2 or 3 cultivators know about the auction, and those who don't know are likely to have just returned from the wild or just come out of retreat. Moreover, as time goes by, more and more cultivators know about it, and even cultivators in the North region, Central region, and South region have heard some news. Many forces are quite interested in this matter. After all, Xuanfa Pavilion has promoted various precious spirit seeds and methods. If they can get them, their own strength can also be greatly improved. Therefore, this auction attracted many forces from other continents to come to Xuanfa's house in the East region. The purpose of Xuanfa Pavilion has been achieved, and it was completed very well. Li Zhirui sighed helplessly when he heard that the Li family had collected information about the auction. Because the more forces involved, the more competitors there are, and the greater the price they will pay to get a certain spiritual object. Zhifeng, send someone to the Xuanfa Pavilion to ask if you can get a relatively complete auction list. According to the current development trend, with the strength of the Li family, I am afraid that they can only focus on competing for a few spiritual objects. As for what it is, they have to see what is on the list, so that they can accurately decide. If necessary, you can bribe the other party. At the end, Li Zhirui added. After spending some small price, the Li family got a list of auction items. Except for 10 treasures at the bottom of the box, all other auction items are on this jade slip. Li Zhirui directly skipped the 1st and 2nd level spiritual objects in front, and used his powerful divine sense to copy the remaining content separately into several jade slips so that Li Zhifeng and others could also see it. Take a look. If you think there are any good spiritual objects and methods, write them down first, and discuss them later. After saying that, Li Zhirui immersed himself in it. After more than an hour, Li Zhirui rubbed his brows and memorized these thousands of spiritual objects in a short period of time. He also had to compare their values and effects. If there were any spiritual objects that he didn't know, he had to write them down and ask someone to look up information. Such a high intensity was a bit too much for him. Li Zhifeng and others were in good condition. After all, each of them was only responsible for looking at 100 or 200 spiritual objects. You guys can talk about it first. What spiritual objects and methods are helpful to the development of the family? Li Zhirui said. I think the family should take down all these spiritual beasts, such as the 4th grade green water dragon, the 4th grade yellow jade dragon lizard, the 4th grade flame fire dragon, and the 4th grade thick armored dragon turtle. The beast-raising elder took the lead and said, and the cultivation of spiritual beasts is relatively difficult. The demand from other forces is not very strong, and the price the family has to pay will be much smaller. From his words, it can be seen that he wants to create a group of high-grade dragon blood spiritual beasts. Dragons are lustful by nature, and there is almost no reproductive isolation with any species. Through a large number of matings, a group of mixed-blood dragon beasts with not too high a grade can be quickly cultivated. If they mate with each other, they might even give birth to dragon beasts with ancestral blood. Moreover, the Li family already has several dragon blood spirit beasts, including Li Zhirui's 5th grade green dragon, Zhang Fengwu's 4th grade 5-color dragon carp, and Li Zhixun's 4th grade coal dragon. Among them, the coal dragon was placed on Banyan Island by Li Zhixun, and has cultivated a group of 3rd grade offspring, and has been contracted by some clansmen with matching attributes. This proposal is not bad, and it has far-reaching influence, benefiting a large number of clansmen, and has a significant role in promoting the future development of the Li family. Does anyone else have any suggestions? I think the family should buy some inheritance of cultivation skills to improve the family's skills, which can not only enhance the foundation, but also earn more spirit stones. Other elders also put forward their own opinions, but Li Zhirui still thinks that the elder who cultivates beasts said the best, even better than the several spirit seeds and pale recipes he selected. Because the other party's proposal benefits all clansmen and can improve the overall strength of the family, while his method only benefits a small number of clansmen. Moreover, there are 3 kinds of precious pales, which can actually support the cultivation needs of a Yuanying cultivator at this level. I support Elder Yashao's proposal. The family is based on the Wanling Sutra. The grade of the spirit beast is crucial. It is very necessary to cultivate high-level spirit beasts. Li Zhufang gave up his own idea and turned to support Elder Yashao. Think about it, if the younger generation of the family, regardless of their spiritual root qualifications, can contract a 3rd grade spirit beast, or even a 4th grade spirit beast, then will it be easier for them to break through the golden core and even higher realms in the future? After all, the improvement of the spirit beast's cultivation will feed back to the cultivator and increase the cultivator's mana, and contracting a spirit beast can also slightly improve the qualifications. The higher the grade of the spirit beast, the greater the improvement. Of course, no matter how many spirit beasts are contracted, the higher the grade of the contracted spirit beast, the maximum will not exceed 9 points of spiritual root purity, but it is always better to have it than not. Compared to other high-level spirit beasts, dragon blood spirit beasts are easier to cultivate on a large scale and form a tribe. In addition, the family already has a certain foundation. I believe that in time, the family will definitely have a group of high-grade dragon beasts, Li Zhufang said passionately. Then let's stick to this proposal. Li Zhirui made the final decision without giving others a chance to object. Chapter 570 Playing. Thank you for estimating the price of these spirit beast eggs. If the family does not have enough spirit stones, you can discard 1 or 2 of them. If you have extra spirit stones, you can see what other spirit objects you can buy. Li Zhirui smiled and said, after all, such a large-scale auction is rare. We should make good use of it. At least in the hundreds of years since he was born, he has never heard of it. Then everyone, get busy. I'll go back first. Before he finished speaking, Li Zhirui disappeared in the hall. I'm busy with work, so I won't say any more nonsense. Elder Yu Beast Breeding, you have the deepest research on spirit beasts, so I'll leave it to you to estimate the price. Elder Internal Affairs will assist you. If you have extra spirit stones, you can see what spirit objects you can buy. Li Zhufang made arrangements calmly. For the sake of the family and future generations, you have worked hard during this period. This is what we should do. Li Zhufang smiled and nodded, saying, then everyone should get busy, take a rest, and don't work too hard. After the elders walked out of the hall, one of them whispered, this has made the previously unknown elders very popular, but the monks present were all sharp-eyed and sharp-eared, so how could they not hear what he said? The original beast-raising elder, although he held real power, was only responsible for the cultivation of spirit beasts. To put it bluntly, he was just an any-like figure, but now he's leading such an important matter. And if this situation really develops, the power in the hands of the beast-raising elder, who was originally just a decoration, will be gradually increased. But there are only so many powers in total. If his power increases, it means that the power of other elders will decrease, which is equivalent to encroaching on the power of other elders, and they will naturally not be happy. Obviously, the beast-raising elder also knows his situation, and he did not become rampant after he succeeded. He just pretended not to hear and continued to move forward, in the secret realm of Broken Star State. After reaching a verbal agreement with Bai Li and Xuanmo, Li Zhirui no longer ran around in the secret realm to look for spiritual objects, because she wanted to stay in the best condition to guard against the two foxes. Those who are not of my kind must have different hearts. Even with the constraints of the Dao Oath and the Heart Demon Oath, Li Zhirui did not believe in the two fox demons. If something happened, she would have the confidence to deal with it. If she had not been confident that she could beat these two third-level perfect celestial foxes, she would never have made this deal with them. Time passed by bit, and during this time Li Zhirui noticed that Bai Li left the mountain and looked like he was looking for another fourth-level spiritual object. And there was only one injured fox demon, Xuanmo, in the mountain. Originally, she wanted to take the opportunity to take away the treasure infant fruit, so that she could get the treasure without cooperating with these two monsters. But the spiritual sense in the dark reminded Li Zhirui that things were not that simple. If she really rushed in, she might fall into the trap they carefully set up. So she had to suppress her inner restlessness and continue to wait. And the fact is indeed so. Bai Li, who left in front of Li Zhirui, was actually just a clone. It had been hiding in the mountains, waiting to attack Li Zhirui. But she didn't expect that she would not be fooled at all. That cultivator is too cautious. It seems that we can only cooperate with her, Bai Li said helplessly. Xuanmo shook his head and said, there must be many cultivators in the secret realm now. We don't have to hang ourselves on a tree. We can try to control a cultivator with weaker strength and let him take us away. Be careful to avoid that person and don't let her find us. Bai Li nodded excitedly and said, don't worry, she has my scent on her. I can check her location in advance and I will definitely not be found. After a little preparation, Bai Li began to act and look for suitable low-level cultivators. As time went on, many cultivators entered the secret realm and had countless conflicts with monsters. Some of them died and even their bones were eaten by monsters. Some of them got a lot of treasures and thought that they could make a fortune after going out. But the cruelty of the secret realm has just begun. Because of the large-scale fighting between the monks, the cruelty was far worse than dying in the mouth of the monster. Li Zhirui witnessed several fights between monks, and she had seen fights between different realms, and even acted as a fisherman who picked up leaks several times. After all, after a fierce fight, the loser fell, and the winner's condition would not be too good, which just gave Li Zhirui an opportunity. Li Zhirui, who had not searched for spiritual objects in the secret realm, now had a bulging wallet and reaped a lot of rewards. But she was not blinded by greed and was very restrained. But when the portal to the secret realm was opened, Li Zhirui went up the mountain to find two fox demons to negotiate terms, and was shocked to find that she was tricked by them. They deliberately left illusions to confuse Li Zhirui, but they had left long ago. Bang! In anger, the terrifying sword energy cut everything around him into pieces. Don't let me see you again. Otherwise, I will definitely peel off your fur. You will be unable to live or die. Li Zhirui was furious and roared to the sky. This was the first time she had lost her composure since she started practicing. But when she thought about being teased by two fox demons and losing the treasure that could make her a baby, Li Zhirui couldn't suppress her anger. After a long time, Li Zhirui calmed down. While the secret realm is not closed yet, let's explore it well. It's not possible to come in with great difficulty and get nothing, right? The white jade fruit tree is still precious, but there is only this one. The spiritual objects snatched from other cultivators are all relatively ordinary spiritual objects. Then, among the cultivators, there was a sudden rumor that a sword cultivator who killed people like crazy and had ruthless means. This person was Li Zhirui, who was teased by the fox demon. If she knew that the cultivators she let go described her like this, she would definitely let them know what it meant to kill people like crazy. In fact, in order to avoid killing more monks, Li Zhirui did not kill any monks she met, except for a few who did not know how to live or die. She just took away their storage bags. Of course, this process is bound to be full of reluctance and resistance. But so far, Li Zhirui has not met a monk who can defeat her. The main reason is that she is not stupid. Before taking action, she will estimate the strength of the opponent. If she thinks that the monk is unfathomable and evenly matched, she will take the initiative to avoid it, otherwise she will take action. This approach not only vents the anger in her heart, but also gets a lot of treasures, which can be said to kill two birds with one stone. As for whether she will be hated and retaliated in the future, Li Zhirui said that there is no need to worry at all, because when she takes action, what is revealed is not her own appearance, and even her gender is fake. In addition, she did not use her natal magic sword, so the probability of being exposed is very low. Chapter 571 Arrival. It's time to leave. In the Sea of Consciousness, the spiritual light symbolizing the portal of the secret realm became increasingly dim, and Li Zhirui knew it was time to leave. Although she was fooled by the two fox demons and did not get the precious baby fruit, she still gained a lot from robbing the monks. Following the instructions, Li Zhirui left the secret realm smoothly. However, when she was heading to the nearest fairy city, she encountered an ambush. Hand over the spiritual objects obtained in the secret realm, and I will spare your life. The 6 Jinden's Henrin formed an encirclement and trapped Li Zhirui in it. Why not block the portal of the secret realm directly and prevent other monks from passing, but ambush outside? This is also an established rule in Shattered Star State. No monk is allowed to block the door, otherwise they will attack together. Unless you are confident that you will not let a monk escape, or you will never be in Shattered Star State again, otherwise, no monk dares to violate this taboo. I'll only say this once, get out of the way, Li Zhirui said indifferently, not taking the 5 Jinden seriously at all. Because in addition to their numerical advantage, they were only in the early or middle stages of their cultivation. Even if the gap between the small realms was not particularly huge, considering that Li Zhirui was a powerful sword cultivator, their strength was not necessarily stronger than her. You are stubborn. There are countless late Jinden cultivators who died at the hands of our 5 brothers, and you are not one more, one of them shouted with a ferocious face. Move, let her see our strength, clang. But Li Zhirui's speed of drawing the sword was far faster than the 5 people. A sharp Zhengjin sword energy went straight to the cultivator who led the group. From a distance, he could feel the horror that pierced everything, which frightened him so much that he quickly cast a defensive spell and cast all kinds of spells on himself. But in front of this sword energy, it was completely worthless and was easily shattered until the other 4 people helped and attacked the sword energy, and he himself also sacrificed a defensive magic weapon, and then he was able to resist this sword energy. Just a little move, the 5 people seemed to be frightened silly, and then they realized how stupid their previous words were. They dared not covet the spiritual objects in Li Zhirui's hand anymore, but thought about what they should do to save their lives. Unfortunately, Li Zhirui's tolerance for idiots has never been high, so she did not intend to let them go. Run away separately. Feeling her murderous intent, someone shouted and turned to run away. No matter how deep the friendship was before, when disaster strikes, you always hope that you can survive. Li Zhirui frowned. In this case, she could only chase and kill one of them. There was no time to think about it, and she flew directly towards the monk who attacked her. The sword energy rushed into the sky, abandoning most of its power, and only hitting the opponent at the fastest speed to interrupt his escape. Please let me go, fellow Taoist. I am willing to serve you as my master and offer all my spiritual objects. After being caught up by Li Zhirui, he knew that he could not escape, so he gave up his dignity very simply and just wanted to survive. Spineless waste, Li Zhirui said with disdain. Yes, the master is right. I am. But before he finished speaking, a cold light flashed, and his head fell off his body, his eyes full of surprise, unwillingness and resentment. After quickly dealing with his body and the spoils, Li Zhirui left the place with an indifferent look. Time passed quickly, and in a blink of an eye it was the first half of the month before the auction. Because the journey was long, they had to set off in advance, and there were more than 100 clansmen participating in the auction this time, a large part of whom followed the past to gain knowledge, or wanted to bid for spiritual objects. In the past few months, the list of auction items had long been circulated within the family, and these clansmen decided on the spiritual objects they wanted after careful research. Is everyone here? Li Zhirui appeared and asked. We have counted them all, and all 359 clansmen are here. Then let's go. Before leaving, Li Zhirui specifically said, if you encounter something difficult to solve, you can ask Feng Wu to show up and solve it. During this period of time, her research on the Black Stone cannot be said to be fruitless, but there has been no breakthrough progress, and it is still slowly deducing. 3 spirit ships took off and rushed towards the direction of Zuanfazhao. On the way, spirit ships joined from time to time and followed the fleet. Some of these spirit ships were vassal forces of the Li family, and some were independent cultivators. The reason why they followed the Li family's fleet was naturally for safety. This road is tens of thousands of miles away, and it is unknown how many states they will pass through during the journey. There are many chaotic areas among them. If they were allowed to walk alone, it would be a bit dangerous. But if they acted with the Li family, there would be no such problems. Because no one dared to attack a fleet with a Yuanying sitting in it. Unless they were so unlucky that they met an old ancestor of Huishan. And the reason why these cultivators knew the Li family's route was because the Li family took the initiative to announce it, mainly to show favor to them. Uncle Jiu, more and more cultivators are following us. Li Chengru also came this time. He came to participate in the auction and planned to take this opportunity to sell the magic tools and magic treasures he refined at a high price. By the way, see if he can buy some precious spiritual objects. This auction that brings together countless cultivators is not just a trading channel. And there are many clansmen like Li Chengru. Even if they are busy and cannot go in person, they specially ask close clansmen for help. Even Li Zhirui has the array plates and spiritual objects that Zhang Fengwu entrusted him to sell. Let them go, as long as they don't cause trouble and don't hinder the fleet. Li Zhirui didn't take it to heart. And from a certain perspective, a large number of cultivators rely on the Li family fleet, greatly strengthening its momentum and making people daunting, which can reduce some trouble. Such a large fleet, which power of transformation is this, passing many markets and immortal cities on the way, countless cultivators will have such questions in their hearts. It seems that Xuanfa Pavilion is really going to be famous this time, and it will spread all over the world. It can actually attract such a powerful force to come, after more than 10 days of long journey. Li Zhirui and others finally arrived at Xuanfazhao. The area of Xuanfazhao is not large, and it is not worthy of the status of a divine power at all, but the spiritual energy is extremely rich, and the beautiful scenery can be seen everywhere, which all reflect the foundation and strength of Xuanfa Pavilion. Even though Li Zhirui has seen many big scenes, when he saw Xuanfazhao for the first time, his eyes could not help but show a sense of amazement. As for the many clansmen and cultivators behind him, they were even more unbearable, and the exclamations were endless. Chapter 572 Interested. As expected of a great chamber of commerce that has dominated the East region for thousands of years, even in the marginal areas, the spiritual energy is as rich as that of a fourth-order spiritual vein. Li Zhirui sighed as he looked at the spiritual energy that was lingering like mist. However, if it weren't for this auction, most cultivators would probably never be able to enter Xuanfazhao in their lifetime. Because except for cultivators who have reached a certain level within the Chamber of Commerce and very important partners of the Chamber of Commerce, other cultivators who want to come in need to pay a high fee. As for sneaking in, that's absolutely impossible. Because the ordinary Xuanfazhao is covered by a huge fifth-order formation, all cultivators who dare to enter without permission, without exception, have turned into corpses. Even if this trip is fruitless, just absorbing spiritual energy for a month is worth the trip. Li Chengru said somewhat exaggeratedly. But things are far from as simple as he imagined. Li Zhirui was going to take his people into Xuanfazhao, but he was unexpectedly stopped by a Yuanying Zhenjin, who said, Jinshu has met fellow Taoist Li. The names of the cultivators in Xuanfa Pavilion have a characteristic. Their names will change as their cultivation level increases. For example, the Yuanying Zhenjin in front of him, named Jinshu, was called Yinshu in the Jiandan period. And if he breaks through to the god of transformation one day, he will be called Baoshu. Therefore, even if their cultivation level cannot be judged, it can be seen from their names. As a chamber of commerce, intelligence is also very important, so it is not surprising that the other party knows Li Zhirui. I hope fellow Taoist Li will forgive me. The auction is about to be held, and it is being closely arranged and arranged. It is impossible to accept a large number of cultivators. Fellow Taoist can bring 1 or 2 juniors to come in and visit in advance. Li Zhirui raised his eyebrows when he heard this. No wonder so many cultivators were staying outside. He smiled and said, Thank you fellow Taoist Jinshu for reminding me. Then he took Li Chengru and Li Chenglin and walked into Xuanfazhao. Uncle Jiu, it seems that Xuanfa Pavilion has made a lot of preparations for this auction to accommodate more monks. After they came in, the first thing they saw was the magnificent hall on the central mountain, which was the main venue of the auction. There were 8 smaller halls on the mountainside and at the foot of the mountain, which were all branch venues. In addition, There was an extremely huge projection jade in the square in front of the mountain. In this way, even if a dozen auction halls were full, others could still participate in the auction. And spreading out from the square, there were stalls arranged in advance, densely packed, making full use of every blank piece of land. But have you noticed a problem? There are not many inns in Xuanfazhao. Li Zhirui shook his head. Since Xuanfazhao is not large in area and rarely receives monks in the past, not many inns have been built, so the price of each room has soared to an amount that even Li Zhirui can hardly afford. The Xuanfa Pavilion also issued a rule that after the market closed at midnight, no cultivators were allowed to walk on the street. Those who violated it, regardless of their cultivation level, would be imprisoned in the black prison for 7 days and would not be allowed to enter Xuanfazhao for life. Don't think that Xuanfa Pavilion doesn't have this strength. They have several gods of transformation. It can be clearly seen that Xuanfa Pavilion did this intentionally to prevent a large number of cultivators from practicing in Xuanfazhao during the auction without buying any spiritual objects. It seems that everyone can only rest on the spiritual ship for the next period of time. Fortunately, the 3 spiritual ships are wide enough to accommodate many clansmen. Not to mention that the guest rooms are expensive. It is not easy for Li Zhirui to live in it alone and let the clansmen stay on the spiritual ship. The most important thing is that without his protection, this wilderness, and a large number of cultivators gathered here, is too dangerous. There's nothing left to see. Let's go back, Li Zhirui warned. The auction will start in a few days. Tell the tribesmen to have a good rest and conserve their energy. I'll notify them. Li Chengru nodded in response. Why do you always follow me? What's your purpose? Li Chengshuo looked at the handsome giant and cultivator behind him and said impatiently. Wei Ningchen said calmly, I'm also going to Xuanfa Pavilion to participate in the auction, but it's just on the way. Fellow Taoist, don't think too much. Li Chengshuo rolled his eyes when he heard this. Did he really think she was a fool? She deliberately took a detour on the road and walked a long way, and this person was always following her. If she hadn't seen Wei Ningchen's strength before and knew that he was a very terrifying puppeteer, she would have driven him away long ago. This was also the first time that Li Chengshuo felt a great frustration of being inferior to others. Humph, Li Chengshuo was too lazy to entangle with him and flew towards Xuanfazhao at the fastest speed. Damn it! How can a puppeteer fly so fast if he doesn't focus on manipulating the puppet? Wei Ningchen calmly kept a distance from Li Chengshuo, not too far or too close, which showed how easy it was for him to catch up. After all these actions, not only did he not get rid of Wei Ningchen, but Li Chengshuo himself was panting with exhaustion. I don't know if Dad will attend this auction. If he is, I must ask him to teach this bastard a lesson. Li Chengshuo thought viciously in his heart. After rushing all the way, he finally arrived at the south of Xuanfazhao in the afternoon before the auction. In order to centralize management, Xuanfa Pavilion requires all cultivators to be in the south, and cultivators are not allowed to enter other places. But even so, it is not an easy task to find the Li family's fleet among tens of thousands of cultivators. Wei Ningchen has been following behind Li Chengshuo, and even if he saw the spirit ship of his own sect, he did not step forward. What is that kid doing? Why is he following that little girl? A burly man on a huge spirit ship saw this scene and asked in confusion. His voice was like thunder. Even cultivators with lower strength would feel very uncomfortable just by hearing his voice. Standing next to him was a female cultivator in white with an expression like an eternal iceberg. She glanced at him lightly and said, A love calamity has come upon you. The kid Wei likes that little girl? You have good taste. A Cheyenne spirit body, an excellent physique for dual cultivation. The burly man didn't take the love calamity mentioned by the female cultivator to heart at all, because he knew that the other party hated love the most. As for Li Chengshuo, he spent a lot of effort and finally found out about the 3 spirit ships of the Li family. Brother Chengru. Is Daddy here? As soon as she approached, she saw Li Chengru sitting cross-legged at the bow, as if he was guarding against something. Chengshuo, Li Chengru looked confused and asked ignorantly, Why did you suddenly appear here? Chapter 573 Cut Off. The publicity of Xuanfa Pavilion is so grand. I was training not far away, so I wanted to come and join in the fun. In addition, I thought that my family would definitely participate, so it was a good opportunity to meet everyone, Li Chengshuo said with a smile. Li Chengru had time to observe her carefully. Seeing that she was not injured, he was relieved. He noticed Wei Ningchen behind Li Chengshuo and asked, Is that person a good friend you met when you were training outside? No, I am not familiar with him. I just don't know why he followed me all the way. Li Chengshuo secretly transmitted a voice. He is a puppeteer with very strong strength. This is why I have been tolerant. Hearing this, Li Chang'er looked at the two of them thoughtfully, his eyes moving between them. Although he had no emotional experience, he had at least 100 or 200 years of life experience, and he could see Wei Ningzhen's thoughts. However, considering Uncle Jiayu's love for Li Chengshuo, and she was not aware of it at all, this matter did not seem to be easy. Sure, Li Zhirui came out of the cabin at this time, followed by Li Chenglin, who ran to tell him. Dad, Li Chengshuo hadn't seen his relatives for several years, and all kinds of thoughts surged into his mind. Grown up, Li Zhirui looked at the weathered face, a trace of heartache flashed in his eyes, but his tone was relieved. He wanted to say something, but after hearing Li Chengru's voice transmission, he immediately turned his gaze to Wei Ningzhen, who was standing not far away, hesitating whether to move forward. My friend, is there anything? Wei Ningzhen, who is always calm and self-controlled, and his expression was calm even in critical moments, suddenly became at a loss and said, Junior Wei Ningzhen of the Wangxiang sect greets the senior. A dark light flashed in Li Zhirui's eyes. The Wangxiang sect is one of the 3 top forces in the eastern region. There are several ancestors who have reached the state of transformation. Moreover, just a few decades ago, an ancestor of the Wangxiang sect descended. Thinking of Li Chengru saying that he was a puppeteer, Li Zhirui couldn't help but think of the factions within the Wangxiang sect. There are 9 peaks in the Wangxiang sect, and the most mysterious and least known one to the outside world is One Kui Peak. In this case, Wei Ningzhen is a disciple of One Kui Peak, and it is very likely that he is a true disciple. I met Li Daoyao alone on the road, and I was worried about her safety. It happened that I also had to come to Zuanfazhao, so I thought that the two of us would travel together, which would be safer. Wei Ningzhen gradually calmed down and said, Now that I see Li Daoyao has found the family, I will take my leave. Humph! Li Chengshuo snorted in dissatisfaction, and said, Who asked you to worry? With my strength, I won't encounter any danger. Li Zhirui frowned slightly, and then disappeared in a flash. He could see that Shu'er had no thoughts of love for this person, but at least he didn't hate him, otherwise he wouldn't show such an attitude. So, the words that Wei Ningzhen originally wanted to leave immediately turned into something else. It's getting late, you've been traveling all the way and you've been tired, why don't you go on board and rest for a night? Go find the master tomorrow, then I'll obey your orders. Wei Ningzhen couldn't help but raise his mouth slightly. You go and rest for a while, and I'll welcome you tonight. Without giving Wei Ningzhen a chance to refuse, Li Chengru walked straight forward and took him to a newly cleaned guest room. Huh? Wei Kid actually boarded someone else's spirit ship. The burly man who had been paying attention to this matter smiled and said, It seems that it won't be long before I can drink this kid's wedding wine. Didn't you pay attention to which family's ship junior brother Wei boarded? The white-clothed female cultivator next to him said lightly. No matter which family it is, no matter how strong it is, can it be stronger than my Wangxiang sect? Having said that, he still asked his disciples to investigate the situation of the Li family. In just half an hour, the disciple came back with some information. Born in a Yuanying family, both parents are Yuanying cultivators, and there is a twin brother, also a Jinan. Slightly inferior in status, the big man said indifferently, but the disciples of Wangui Peak don't care about their origins. It's good enough to find a Taoist partner smoothly. Wei Ningzhen's master is the master of Wangui Peak, a famous master of puppetry. What's more, he is a close disciple. However, it may be that controlling puppets requires extreme calmness and concentration, suppressing emotions, so that almost all puppeteers who have achieved success in puppetry have no intention of looking for a Taoist partner. I don't think they will be interested in junior brother Wei. A touch of surprise flashed in the eyes of the white-clothed female cultivator. It was rare to say a few more words, saying, from an exiled foundation-building family, it has only developed for 200 or 300 years, and they have 2 Yuanyings, even you and me, with the guidance of the sect master and the inclination of a large amount of resources. It took more than 200 years to achieve Yuanying. Such people are always picky. The most important thing is that the physique of the female cultivator is too sensitive. The Xianyan spirit body has extremely pure Xianyan spiritual energy. Although the harmony of yin and yang is more beneficial to the man, it will not cause any harm to Li Chengshuo. But once the dual cultivation is transformed into the collection of supplements, She will be an excellent cauldron. Any parent with a little conscience does not want their children to become the cauldron of others. Even if Wei Ningchen repeatedly guarantees, it cannot dispel Li Zhirui's concerns. And if something really goes wrong at that time, Li Zhirui will have no way to deal with it. After all, the gap in strength between the two sides is clearly in front of him. Let Wei Kid worry about it himself. The big man looks rude, but he is actually very smart. He heard the deep meaning of the white-clothed female cultivator's words. On the other side, after an hour or two of preparation, the Li family prepared a banquet with very good specifications. It's a bit simple when you are away from home. I hope you don't mind, Senior, you are joking. These spiritual objects are already very good. Looking around, they are all third-level spiritual objects, including a 5-element jade peach. Then let's start drinking. After 3 rounds of drinking, Li Zhirui asked Li Changshuo and others to go back and rest, leaving Wei Ningchen alone. He seemed to have noticed something, and immediately sat upright, waiting for Li Zhirui to speak. Li Zhirui did not try to use his power to pressure others, and asked directly, "Do you have a good impression of Shu'er?" "Yes, Senior, I want to pursue fellow Taoist Li, form a Taoist couple, and walk hand in hand with you to pursue the Great Way." Wei Ningchen's attitude was very correct, and he assured, "Please rest assured, Senior, my master will definitely agree with this, and I will definitely not let fellow Taoist Li down." Li Zhirui smiled and shook his head, saying, "I never believe these words, Senior." Wei Ningchen looked anxious and wanted to explain something, but was interrupted by Li Zhirui. "And I just want to tell you that Shu'er has no friendship with you, so I hope you will not harass her again in the future. You should leave early tomorrow morning." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 574 Opening. The next morning, Wei Ningchen left the Li family's spirit ship in a state of despair. "Brother Wei, looking at your appearance, is it because the father doesn't accept you?" the burly man joked with a smile. "Brother," Wei Ningchen bowed and said nothing more. He planned to bypass him and find a place to have a good rest. It was strange to say that he and Li Changshuo had only met a few times, but for some reason, the other party left such a deep impression in his heart that made him linger. It was as if it was a fate destined in the previous life. "Do you know the reason?" This sentence immediately made Wei Ningchen stop and bowed and asked, "Please help me, brother, that girl is a Cheyenne spirit body. How could her father hand his daughter over to you, a person whose background he doesn't know?" In fact, at the beginning, Li Zhirui did not find that Li Changsheng and Li Changshuo, the two siblings, also had special spirit bodies. It was only after they broke through the nascent soul that he realized something was wrong. After consulting many classics, it was confirmed that Li Changsheng was a Cheyenne spirit body and Li Changshuo was a Cheyenne spirit body. Although the spirit body has many benefits for them to improve their cultivation, it is also very easy to be targeted by some special cultivators or demon cultivators. For this reason, Li Zhirui thought of many ways to conceal the spirit bodies of the two. However, he could hide it from most people, but not from cultivators who were also in the nascent soul stage. Wei Ningchen was a smart man. After hearing this, he immediately understood the meaning of the big man's words and strengthened his belief. "I will let that senior see my sincerity. I didn't expect that one Kui Peak would give birth to a seed of love like you." The big man looked Wei Ningchen up and down as if he had discovered some new species. "Thank you, senior brother, I'll take my leave first." After saying that, he hurried away. "Dad, where's that annoying guy? Is he gone?" On the Li family's spirit ship, Li Changshuo didn't find any trace of Wei Ningchen, so he simply came to Li Zhirui and asked. "Well, he left early in the morning," Li Zhirui asked casually. "Why? Do you have something to do with him? How is that possible? I wish he would disappear from my sight as soon as possible," but for some reason, she suddenly felt a sense of loss in her heart. Li Zhirui didn't want to talk about Wei Ningchen anymore, and changed the subject very naturally, asking, "Today is the day when the auction starts. Do you want to go to the main venue with me?" "No, with a few spiritual stones in my hand, I will just watch the fun if I go in. It's better to look at the projected spiritual stones outside and visit the stalls. Maybe I can find a bargain from the stalls." Then be careful. Although no one dared to take action inside Zuanfazhao, it's always better to be careful. After watching Li Chengshuo leave, Li Zhirui also took Li Chengru, Elder Yashao and others into Zuanfazhao and walked towards the magnificent main venue. The first-class private room costs 200,000 spiritual stones, while the ordinary private room only costs 50,000. Of course, you can also choose to sit on the first floor, which is free. At the entrance of the hall, several giant cultivators were waiting here to welcome cultivators like Li Zhirui, while the others were handed over to the remaining foundation building disciples. Take us to the second floor. Li Zhirui finally booked a private room. The area was not necessarily large, but at least he didn't have to squeeze in the crowd. Not long after they sat down, a strong momentum covered the entire hall. Li Zhirui estimated that the other party should be Yuanying perfect, otherwise the momentum would not be so huge. Many Yuanying's engine came one after another, but what surprised Li Zhirui was that there were actually ancestors of Huishan participating. It seems that Zuanfa Pavilion will really take out 5th-level spiritual objects, or natural treasures for auction. If it is false propaganda to attract these ancestors of Huishan, but can't take out good things, even if Zuanfa Pavilion is the largest chamber of commerce in the East region, it can't bear the anger of so many people. With the entrance of another god-transforming ancestor, the auction officially began. Welcome all seniors and fellow Taoists to the super-large auction organized by Zuanfa Pavilion. A giant cultivator came out from behind the scenes and said, "I am Wu Dao, and I am very honored to be the host of this auction. I will not say any more nonsense. Let's get started by showing the spiritual objects." A graceful female cultivator came forward with a jade plate, on which there was only a small jade box. 4th-level enlightenment pill. When taken by giant cultivators, it helps to break through the nascent soul stage, and when taken by nascent soul cultivators, it also has a significant improvement. Li Zhirui said with heartfelt emotion, "Zuanfa Pavilion is really rich and powerful." They actually used the enlightenment pill as the opening. However, this pill was not very useful to him, so he showed little interest, but those giant cultivators were very excited because it might help them to further improve their cultivation. The bidding was endless. In the end, a giant cultivator won the enlightenment pill at a sky-high price of 1.98 million spirit stones. This price is too exaggerated. Li Chengru couldn't help swallowing his saliva. This is just the beginning. You will know how worthless the spirit stone is later, Li Zhirui said with a smile. At this time, the second auction item was also displayed in front of everyone. A 3rd-level top-grade magic weapon. Li Chengshuo, who was strolling outside, looked up at the projected spirit stone, then retracted his gaze and began to find treasures on the stalls. "I didn't expect that my luck was so good. I encountered a top-grade one just after I went out." A voice full of vulgarity sounded in Li Chengshuo's ears. Li Chengshuo suddenly raised his head and looked in the direction where the voice came from, with a hint of murderous intent in his eyes. If it weren't in Zuanfazhao, she would have taken action now. "Oh? Your eyes are quite fierce. I like this kind of unruly woman. If you tame her little by little, you will never know how great the sense of accomplishment is if you don't experience it yourself." Li Chengshuo couldn't hold back his anger and challenged him. "Do you dare to leave Zuanfazhao and compete with me to see if I am defeated by you or you become a ghost under my hands? To deal with you, why do I need to do it? I will do it." A certain giant cultivator who surrounded that person was very active in showing himself. "Waste," Li Chengshuo snorted coldly, but he didn't want to get entangled with them anymore. A giant cultivator who looked extremely frivolous and was completely forced to use elixir to infuse, and who was followed by so many lackeys, needless to say, knew that he was from an extraordinary background. But what Li Chengshuo didn't know was that this Mr. Zhao came from Xianyang sect and was the only heir of a Yuanying elder. And Xianyang sect, like Wangxiang sect, is one of the 3 top forces. 2 sects and 1 religion, 3 mountains and 4 factions, are talking about the 10 great forces of the East region. The 2 sects are the Wangxiang sect and the Jian sect, the 1 religion is the Xianyang sect, and the 3 mountains and 4 schools refer to Zuanfu Mountain, Qingming Mountain, Xianshu Mountain, as well as the Bagua Dam School, Lingbao School, Huanglu School, and Yanxian School. Chapter 575 Rescue. The reason why Zuanfa Pavilion was not included in the list was not because it was not strong enough, but because as a chamber of commerce mainly engaged in commercial activities, it emphasized that harmony brings wealth. "How dare you insult Mr. Zhao?" the monks following Zhao Hong shouted angrily. 2 of them wanted to show off and even fought openly in the downtown area. 2 spells went straight to Li Changshuo's back. The confrontation between the two had attracted many monks to watch, including Li family monks. Although their cultivation was insufficient, they did not hesitate to block them and buy time for Li Changshuo. There was also a clever clan member who ran towards the main venue and wanted to tell Li Zhirui about this. The Chamber of Commerce has expressly prohibited fighting in Zuanfazhao. No matter what your reasons are, follow me to the Black Prison. A Yuanying's engine took action in time to eliminate the spells of both sides. Then he used magic ropes to tie up all the monks who had fought indiscriminately. Please understand, my clansmen only took action to protect me, not to provoke me. Li Changshuo immediately stood up and said, neither servile nor arrogant. The Yuanying's engine glanced at her with an unchanged expression. He had seen the whole process of this matter and knew the identities of both parties, both of whom were descendants of Yuanying cultivators. But it was obvious that the Li family was far behind the top power Xian'an sect. So when he handled this matter, it seemed that both sides were punished, but in fact, they were biased towards Xiaohong. This is the rule of the Chamber of Commerce, therefore, he just explained it lightly. Although Li Changshuo was a little romantic, he was not a fool. How could he not see the other party's favoritism? But her cultivation was not enough, and she was not qualified to have an equal dialogue with the Yuanying's engine. She could only stand in front of the clansmen and prevent them from being taken away. Looking at Xiaohong, who was smiling and provoking her from time to time, Li Changshuo wanted to summon the Mingyu Baosu and smash him to death. Although the monks watching nearby did not dare to say anything, they could not help but have some thoughts about this kind of partiality. When did Xuanfa Pavilion become so confused about right and wrong? A cold voice suddenly sounded, and Wei Ningchen slowly walked out of the crowd. How dare you? Who dares to slander my Xuanfa Pavilion? The Yuanying's engine was furious, but when he turned around and saw the person coming, he was stunned. As a junior high-ranking member of Xuanfa Pavilion, he knew all the important figures of various forces, so he naturally recognized Wei Ningchen's identity. The true disciple of Wan Qifan of Wangxiang sect and the close disciple of the old ancestor of Huishan, even if the other party was only a golden elixir, his identity and status were not lower than his. How could such a person know someone from the Yuanying family? And he was willing to stand up for the other party. Thinking of the open and secret struggles between Wangxiang sect and Xian'an sect, cold sweat broke out on his forehead for a while, and he dared not speak casually. Even Xiaohong immediately became honest. As a dandy, the first thing he had to learn was to know who he could and could not provoke. And Wei Ningchen was the kind of person who must not be provoked. Because even if he died in the hands of the other party, except for his father, there would probably be no one else in the sect who was willing to avenge him. At the same time, he was furious. If it weren't for those two idiots, he wouldn't have fallen into such a shameful situation. He didn't think he was the culprit at all. Xiaohong glanced at Wei Ningchen secretly, and saw that his eyes were on Li Changshuo, and his whole body trembled. Could this be his woman? Thinking of the words he had just said to tease her, he became more and more anxious. Many of the monks who were watching didn't know Wei Ningchen. Seeing this scene, they were shocked. A giant monk actually made Yuanying's engine speechless. Li Changshuo looked at Wei Ningchen with gratitude. If it weren't for him, these clansmen would really be in jail. Li Zhirui, who had just arrived, happened to see Wei Ningchen speaking, and his eyes were extremely complicated for a moment. He knew very well that in such an occasion, even if he personally showed up, the effect would not be as good as Wei Ningchen. To put it bluntly, Li Zhirui, a Yuanying cultivator, was considered a figure in the corner of the Far East, but in front of the major forces, he was nothing. This matter was handled improperly by my Xuanfa Pavilion. On behalf of Xuanfa Pavilion, I apologize to all the friends. This is a gift of apology. I hope you will not despise it. Another Yuanying's engine, who was broad and fat and looked very friendly, appeared. As he spoke, he gave Li Changshuo and more than a dozen Li family members a storage bag each. It's just a misunderstanding. Taoist friend, there is no need to be like this. Li Zhirui stood up at the right time and said with a smile on his face. This is fellow Taoist Li Zhirui, right? Even though we are thousands of miles apart, I know that you are a fourth-rank alchemy master. If you have any business in the future, please don't refuse. It is a blessing for our Li family that you have come to visit us, the fat Yuanying said. I am very busy now. After the auction is over, I will come to have a drink with you and discuss Taoism late at night. I will take my leave now. Then I will be waiting for you." Li Zhirui smiled and sent off the 2 Yuanyings and the 2 monks they had captured. Xiaohong also left the place quietly and disappeared into the crowd. "Put away your storage bags." Li Zhirui's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and he memorized the appearance of Xiaohong and others. "Dad, Senior." Li Zhirui didn't look at Li Changshuo, but stared at Wei Ningqian. After a long while, he said, "Thank you for coming out to help me out just now, Senior. You are too kind." Wei Ningqian, who had just faced a nascent soul with great composure, was now a little panicked. Li Zhirui looked at him steadily and said, "I don't object to your contact with Shuar. If you really love her, I hope you can swear a Taoist oath and a demon oath in front of me, and never allow Shuar to be used as a cauldron to collect energy." "Senior, I can swear now." Wei Ningqian's eyes suddenly burst into endless surprise and spirit, and he couldn't wait to say it. Li Zhirui waved his hand and said, "Don't be so anxious. Maybe you are just trembling for a while. Wait until you and Shuar are sure of your relationship. Maybe Shuar doesn't have such feelings for you." What happened today made him change his previous thoughts. It was not that Wei Ningqian stepped forward to rescue her that won Li Zhirui's appreciation, but that he realized for the first time so deeply and clearly that with his current strength, he might not be able to protect Li Changshuo. In order to prevent Li Changshuo from falling into danger, Li Zhirui could only find a powerful backer for her. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.